Lu Wan hurriedly introduced this divinely gifted doctor she'd met by chance. But Mayor Lu didn't trust this young man. He demanded Qin Li's medical license. Qin Li, lacking such a document, repeatedly waved his hands in denial. Mayor Lu was furious. Letting such a person treat his father was a joke. Helpless, the girl could only let Qin Li leave first. The next second, a nurse in the ward hurriedly informed them that the old man's heart had stopped. After a series of emergency treatments, the old man remained unconscious. As the chief physician, she could only lament her helplessness. Lu Wan advised her brother to try any means, even if it seemed like a dead bird could be treated like a live horse. She suggested letting the doctor she brought give it a try. Qin Li also volunteered to help, but instead, he was met with a sharp "get lost." This only enraged Qin Li. "Mayor Lu, I'll make a bet with you. If I manage to save the old man, I must apologize in person. If I fail, I'll accept imprisonment." Mayor Lu's disgust for him increased. "Do you even know your own limitations? Get out of here." Qin Li didn't want to continue to be ignored. "I had no choice but to leave. Little did I know my wife was waiting at the door. I told you not to force it. Now you've been publicly humiliated, haven't you?" But just as I was leaving, I heard arguing coming from inside the ward. This mute person actually spoke. "But this gift cost me 3 million. You're telling me it's genuine?" Qin Li smiled faintly. "Even if it cost 30 million. A fake is still a fake." The doctor, also quite frustrated, urged him to accept the loss and move on. As soon as these words were spoken, the strong Mayor Lu could no longer hold back his tears. In the next moment, the hospital door was suddenly pushed open. Qin Li hurriedly rushed in. "Move aside, the patient can still be saved." Then, Huang Ning quickly drew several silver needles from his waist. He used his internal energy cultivation to fill his right hand with power. Mayor Lu was dumbfounded. This young man seemed to emanate an aura. Qin Li held a needle between his index finger and thumb. Moments later, he had stabilized the old man's heart pulse. Next is the most important part, the soul-returning needle. Qin Li, holding his breath and concentrating, inserted the silver needle into the old man's neck. The old man, who had lost his heartbeat, suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood. In an instant, his breathing returned to normal. However, Qin Li, exhausted from the effort, stood aside. The doctor was completely dumbfounded. "This is beyond my scientific understanding." Seeing the old man awake and the family reunited, Qin Li knew it was time for him to leave. But unexpectedly, Mayor Lu suddenly knelt down. "I was blind to your merits. Thank you for saving my father despite past grievances." Qin Li is not the kind of person who holds grudges. He also gave some instructions. Lu Wan politely offered to transfer the 5 million he had promised earlier. Once the matter was settled, Qin Li turned to leave. Unexpectedly, Chu Qinyin was still waiting for him at the door. "You're lucky today. It's best to avoid such high-profile actions." Qin Li hadn't expected this woman to have such a poor impression of him. With no choice, he could only return home. His mother-in-law, however, knew nothing of what had happened. Still angry, he made him scrub the toilet. He made Qin Li do the housework. The scene before him stunned him. His wife was wearing pajamas and practicing yoga. She also asked him what happened with his sister today. After some explanation, Qinyin seemed to have put down some sort of magic. Qin Li secretly observed his wife. Today, his behavior seemed a little unusual. Seeing his cold attitude, Qinyin turned over and lay on the bed. Her red lips slightly parted. "Thank you for today." Qinyin surprisingly invited him to join the family banquet the next day. As soon as Qin Li sat down, he noticed his aunt, whose face was all about technology and toughness. "This person is up to no good." Sure enough, as soon as she spoke, it was, "You haven't had children for 10 years. Is it a problem with one of your bodies?" Chu Qinyin calmly stated that her career was her priority, but her aunt kept nagging. She even started selling health supplements. Then she started praising her own son-in-law, Cheng Wen, is successful. Other relatives started to sneer at Qin Li, their son-in-law. They began to mock and ridicule him. With the old hag's cough as a reminder, Cheng Wen directly took out the prepared gift box. The moment he opened it, his father-in-law's mouth dropped open. "I never expected this to be a Yuan dynasty blue and white large bowl. It's worth as much as 3 million. The family dinner reached its climax here. My father-in-law and mother-in-law's eyes sparkled. They carefully admired the treasure in their hands. But over here, Qin Li felt that something was wrong. He could sense the intense killing aura emanating from it. This large bowl isn't just a vessel. It's also a vessel of misfortune. Unexpectedly, Cheng Wen spoke first. "Brother-in-law, you wouldn't have come unprepared with a gift, would you? I'm sorry. I forgot you're a mute son-in-law over here. You still rely on my sister to support the family. There's a garbage collecting job opening at my workplace. Should I help you find some connections?" This mockery filled Chu Qinyin with anger. "Brother-in-law, leave a way out for others so you can meet again in the future." The atmosphere became a little awkward. Seeing this, Qin Li also stood up. "Although I didn't bring a gift today, it's still much better than a mere magic item." Cheng Wen was completely dumbfounded. Who knew that just as the rich second generation was turning around, He actually pulled out another 7-string zither, intending to attack. Qin Li dodged with a quick movement, immediately drawing silver needles from his hand. He immediately struck, like threading candied haws. A successful strike. Cheng Wen was clearly flustered by this remark. You, a good-for-nothing, know nothing about antiques. Their argument was immediately stopped by the money-grubbing father-in-law. Qin Yin also advised them not to be so rude to her brother-in-law. Even if the quality is questionable, it's still a gift from your brother-in-law. It's a family dinner today. Stop it. Qin Li saw his wife turn against him. He sighed softly, brother-in-law. This antique from his brother-in-law was no ordinary item. Just then, Mayor Lu and an old man walked over. What kind of magical item is this? Let me take a look. Cheng Wen saw his superior, and hurriedly stood up to shake hands. But Mayor Lu, on the other hand, politely shook hands with Qin Li instead. Cheng Wen was completely dumbfounded. Mayor Lu, this man is a useless son-in-law. You wouldn't be mistaken, would you? Mayor Lu's face instantly turned furious. To actually call my benefactor useless. What are you? Turning to ask Qin Li if he needed help. I would help him solve this problem. But Qin Li didn't want to make things too awkward. He changed the subject to antiques. Wu Fangmao, who was with Mayor Lu, was an antique expert. He was naturally very familiar with the appraisal of blue and white porcelain. He picked up the large bowl and examined it carefully. Both the glaze and the patina should undoubtedly be Yuan dynasty blue and white. However, Qin Li was very confident in his own judgment. Are you sure you're an expert? You can't even tell the authenticity of this kind of item. Wu Fangmao looked at the young man in front of him with a cold gaze. He suddenly let out a laugh. No wonder Mayor Lu has taken a liking to him, neither servile nor overbearing. Indeed, this blue and white porcelain is of good quality. Although the glaze appears flawless, the body clay shows signs of being artificially modified. The depiction of the patterns is skillful, but lacks a certain effortless grace. And to achieve a certain aged appearance, this bowl should be placed in a tomb with a household's burial chamber, stored for a period of time. Keeping it beside one for a long time will invite various calamities. Hearing this, the whole family was in an uproar. Wu Fangmao, however, stepped forward, hoping for future collaboration. Mayor Lu, however, wanted to speak privately. Seeing this, the family's relatives' attitudes improved considerably. His mother-in-law felt even. He himself felt his status had become elevated. Mayor Lu hastily explained the situation outside the door. Not only had his father been ill for the past 2 months, but now even his wife and children were starting to feel unwell. They went to the hospital, but nothing was found wrong. Qin Li took the situation seriously upon hearing this. Let me feel your pulse. From the pulse, I can tell that he's already been invaded by a malignant energy. If he's not treated promptly, I fear for his life. Mayor Lu couldn't help but worry. Qin Li instructed that he would pay a visit after the family banquet. After a few rounds of drinks, my father-in-law had a bit too much to drink today. I didn't expect the son-in-law, who had been suffering from illness for so long, to bring such honor today. Qin Li was closer to the mayor's house, so he planned to take bus 11 to get there. Just as he was about to take a shortcut, he ran into the previous rich second generation. I've gathered a bunch of thugs to wait here. Qin Li, you waste. You humiliated me that day. Today, you just need to cripple your own hands, and I'll spare your life. But Qin Li just dug in his ears, seemingly unconcerned. This kid actually dares to act so cocky. He immediately gathered the punks and got to work. Qin Li smiled faintly. After 10 years, I can finally relax. He drew a dragon with his left hand, a rainbow with his right hand, and in between, a flying monkey. The fight was over in just a minute. The rich kid never expected this mute to be so strong. Although Qin Li kept provoking him, he chose to flee in a panic. Qin Li didn't bother wasting time. Mayor Lu's house should be this way. He just arrived at the entrance of the residence. Qin Li felt a wisp of black energy emanating from the house. It grew stronger as he drew closer. He gently pressed the doorbell. He hadn't expected that the mayor, who was perfectly normal at the hotel just now, as if I'd rewarded myself several times at home. Entering the house, I found the evil energy had already taken shape. It seems the situation is more serious than I imagined. Just then, a scream came from upstairs. Mayor Lu anxiously asked, what happened in the house? The woman was already completely limp. She could only sit up with support. The child at home was wrapped in a mass of black energy, floating in the air. Mayor Lu frantically called for help. Over here, Qin Li also began to use his martial arts technique. The child's eyes turned bloodshot. His voice also became aged. Get out of here. Instantly, the silver needles in Qin Li's hand were already in motion, stabbing towards the child's acupoints. One hit, and it's done. The child fell into a coma and lay limp on the bed. But now, the evil spirit is concentrated in the whole room. Mayor Lu and his wife were even more affected by the environment, and they started to quarrel with each other. It happened so fast. Qin Li channeled all his inner strength, and stabbed towards the child's forehead. In an instant, the Yin Sha was forced out of the body. Qin Li attacked again, launching 3 needles simultaneously at the black shadow in the air. In a flash, the child had returned to normal. The illness is now resolved. Next, we need to find the source of the evil qi. Mayor Lu, have you received any gifts recently? Mayor Lu suddenly remembered a few days ago. He received a pair of stone lions. Qin Li hurriedly went to find the guide. The jade ball in the mouth of the stone lion at the entrance still emanates a terrifying evil spirit. Because the stone lions are located in an area everyone passes through daily, over time, people are invaded by the evil spirit, becoming irritable and weak. Qin Li exerted a little force. That solves the root of all this. The mayor's wife personally went out to express her gratitude. The mayor offered to help him open a clinic. Qin Li pondered for a moment. That's indeed a good idea. Healing the sick and saving the injured has always been my dream. Just as the driver was taking Qin Li home, he saw someone familiar. His wife, Chu Qingyin. What is she doing here so late? Even the driver was captivated by this beautiful woman. Little did he know, at that moment, a short-haired woman in leather. They greeted each other warmly. They even acted intimately with Chu Qingyin. Seeing this, Qin Li gaped in shock. The bad news is, I've been cheated on. The good news is, the one who cheated on me is a woman. Then the two of them even walked into a bar. In this situation, Qin Li could only continue to observe. But he noticed the short-haired woman, after entering the bar, secretly made a gesture. Then, she put her arm around Chu Qingyin's waist even more intimately. At the bar, she ordered 2 shots of hard liquor. Her words implied that she wanted to drink with him until they were both drunk. Chu Qingyin, who usually doesn't drink, ended up having several drinks. Her face flushed with embarrassment, she began to speak nonsense. The short-haired woman saw this and continued to coax her into drinking. Another drink went down. The short-haired woman's expression grew darker. In the end, Chu Qingyin lost consciousness. The short-haired woman saw that her goal had been achieved. They hurriedly took Chu Qingyin upstairs to a private room. The one who opened the door was the rich second generation from before. It was a room with a large round bed. Cameras had already been set up nearby. It turned out that Chu Qingyin's best friend had already been bought off by the rich second generation. Chu Qingyin was drunk and unconscious. Her figure, delicate as a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. The rich second generation heir revealed his true colors. I, a rich second generation heir, wouldn't actually choose a mute. You forced me to do this. Now, I just need to record a video to threaten. From now on, Chu Qingyin probably won't dare mention this experience. But just then, a knock came on the door. MD, someone's disturbing me at this time. I have to deal with it first. Little did he know, when he opened the door, Qin Li gave him a big surprise. The rich second-generation heir panicked and took 2 steps back. Brother Qin, please don't misunderstand, I'm just here to work out. As soon as the words left his mouth, Qin Li's right leg had already kicked out. A knee strike made the rich heir spit out a few mouthfuls of blood. At this moment, Qin Li seemed like the king of hell. Speak. Which way to die do you choose? The rich second generation hurriedly knelt down, begging for mercy like a dead dog. Dad Qin, I dare not do it again. Just treat me as a fart and let me go. Qin Li's face was gloomy and he didn't speak. Accustomed to solitude, he didn't want to trouble anyone else. Qin Li couldn't help but ask where he was going. The cold woman felt lost for the first time. I don't have a home, and I don't know where to go. Qin Li slowly replied, since you have nowhere to go, why don't you stay here and be my assistant? The rich second generation fell into a coma from the pain. Then Qin Li threw him out like trash. He closed the door and sighed silently. It's a good thing I was the one who encountered him today. He took out the silver needles again. He used his inner strength to help his wife sober up. After a few needles, Chu Qingyin slowly woke up. Seeing the man before her, she was momentarily stunned. Without a word, she slapped Qin Li hard across the face. Qin Li was somewhat helpless. I just saved you. You turn around and hit me. Chu Qingyin protected her chest. You clearly wanted to do this, yet you say you were saving me. Qin Li didn't bother explaining again, turning around. He opened the door. Chu Qingyin was still sobbing in bed, but she accidentally discovered a camera nearby. Qin Li, in a foul mood, came to the park for a walk, but he received a call from Lu Wan. The other party was extremely satisfied with his ointment last time. They wanted to buy a large batch again. Hearing the price of 2 million, Qin Li couldn't help but rejoice. Chu Qingyin, having learned the truth, sat in the hall all night. The moment I saw Qin Li again, I couldn't bring myself to apologize. I changed the subject, talking about how I was about to be fired. Qin Li still looked indifferent. This made Chu Qingyin extremely angry. If I lose my job, who will pay to support you? He calmly sat down and told the story about Mayor Lu wanting to help him open a clinic. He explained everything. We can all manage it together when the time comes. Looking at the man's lonely back, Qingyin couldn't help but feel sympathy. She silently said, I'm sorry, to herself. Just now, Chu Qingyin's best friend brought him to the Imperial City Club. The top floor was surprisingly a huge jade auction venue. The emphasis here is on on-site stone opening. One stroke of the knife brings poverty, one stroke brings wealth, one stroke brings only coarse cloth. Qin Li was a little dumbfounded. What was his wife's best friend's purpose in bringing him here? It turned out Tan Zi came to test Qin Li's ability to run a pharmacy. She wanted to check him out for her good friend. Qin Li felt a bit bored. This high-end jade gambling market wasn't something someone like him, a son-in-law, could afford. Who would have thought that at this moment, he sensed a spiritual aura, slowly emanating from a stone in the waist area. Upon getting closer, he realized the source of the energy. It can actually resonate with the body. Qin Li quickly asked about the price. These are usually just unwanted scraps. It only costs 100 yuan to buy one. Qin Li rummaged through his pockets. He finally gathered enough money for the stone, with coins of 5 and 10 yuan. And this scene was just seen by Tan Zi and the other person. This man is buying this kind of scrap material. How could he possibly afford to open a clinic? They were about to expose Qin Li's hypocritical face on the spot. But little did they know, the salesperson had already been stunned. This stone is not only completely green, not even a single crack. The guests in the hall were all shocked and they heard this. Finding jade of this quality in the waist area is like winning the lottery with $2. Immediately, everyone rushed into the waist area. They started buying in large quantities. Qin Li was completely dumbfounded, caught in the middle. Bids rose and fell in quick succession. At this moment, Old Man Tan, a veteran in the Beijing jade market, spoke up. This stone is worth at least 5 million. Young man, are you interested in selling this stone to me? But Qin Li remained unmoved. He handed the stone to his wife standing beside him, letting her handle it. Chu Qinyin looked at the jade in front of her, smiling and agreeing to the request. After all, she and his daughter were good friends. Seeing the deal finalized, Old Man Tan beamed with a full smile. He then took out a stone that had just been auctioned. He asked Qin Li for his opinion. Qin Li felt no trace of spiritual energy fluctuations. He shook his head faintly. As soon as he said this, the surroundings erupted in discussion. This was Old Tan, the pinnacle of the jade industry. How could I have misjudged? But Old Tan didn't get angry. Then let's cut it open on the spot and see. Tan Zijing mocked him, saying it was just good luck. He was very confident in his father's judgment. In a short while, the rough stone was already cut open. Although it has turned green, the flesh is rough, all cracked. It's undoubtedly a failure. Everyone was astonished by this scene. Old Tan adjusted his emotions. Sure enough, heroes emerge from the youth. Our jade business is still short of an expert appraiser. Young man, you can give it a try. Qin Li was about to refuse, but he was interrupted. No need to rush to refuse me. Let me know your answer next time we meet. Soon, the two of them also set off on their way home. Chu Qinyin couldn't help but ask him, when did he learn to gamble on jade? Qin Li perfunctorily took the check from her hand. Chu Qinyin opened the delivered check. Why did you pretend to be mute, to be a good-for-nothing? Qin Li fell into deep thought. Back then, he met a mysterious old man, who gave him a secret manual. But it sealed Qin Li's throat chakra. Therefore, for 10 years, he couldn't make a sound. Qin Li changed the subject, saying his medical clinic was opening tomorrow. Chu Qinyin was a little shocked. I didn't expect this man to actually open a hospital. This is a life-and-death industry. If something goes wrong, no one will go to prison for you. But Qin Li casually replied, it's usually just minor ailments like colds. What an idiot. How can you not hear my concern for him? Qin Li's medical clinic will officially open soon. Not only the location but also the decoration is high-end. The once mute son-in-law has turned his life around. It makes other relatives inevitably jealous. But his father-in-law is as happy as if he'd eaten honey. Cheng Wen sneered. The mayor is just returning a favor. You don't really think he'll protect you, do you? Little did we know that Mayor Lu personally came forward with a gift to offer his congratulations. His relatives were stunned. Cheng Wen was also panicked. He didn't expect the mayor to really give such a big favor. But just then, a cry for help came from the door. They saw a man holding a child, sitting helplessly on the ground. The child's face was pale, his whole body in pain. Qin Li hurriedly stepped forward. Move aside, I'm a doctor. But Qin Li pressed forward to treat the patient. His father-in-law immediately wanted to stop him. He even dares to take on this kind of case. Cheng Wen's face was grim. If he can't cure it, let's see how he'll end up. After observing for a while, Qin Li hurriedly brought the child to his own medical clinic. He used his skill, discarding concentration and beginning his post-diagnosis secret technique. He detected a ball of dark energy remaining in the child's stomach. It's easy to judge that the cause of the illness is poisoning. The man is a construction worker. He usually doesn't have time to take care of the child. The time seems blurry as tears keep flowing. Qin Li notices the child is already showing signs of dying. He has to race against time with He Ziwuchang. But just then, doubts arose from the crowd. This doctor only just received his medical license. What does he know about treatment? For a moment, public anger surged, and people fiercely criticized him. Hurry and send the child to a regular hospital. Mr. and Mrs. Cheng watched as if it were a joke. The man's sadness turned to anger. An intern dares to treat patients. You will pay with your life for my son. The next second, the child suddenly coughed up a mouthful of black blood. Clearly, he was on the brink of death. Qin Li ignored the surrounding curses, hurriedly pulling out silver needles and circulating his qi. His dantian was full of qi, the governor and conception vessels working in tandem. Qi circulating throughout his body, flowing smoothly and deeply merging. Qi returns to the dantian. The skill is complete, the method is renowned. The silver needles in his hand seem to carry blue flames. He pressed them to the abdomen, chest, and forehead, one by one. In an instant, the boy sat up and expelled a large amount of toxins. The father was in tears. He hurriedly embraced his son. Qin calmly said, "If you're still worried, you can go to the hospital for a checkup." The onlookers also applauded Qin actions. This doctor is really something. The elderly man who had stirred up trouble in the crowd slowly walked out. The rich second-generation heir stood in the corner, his face full of anger. I didn't expect he had given the child so much pesticide. He was actually able to save him. The old man stroked his beard, calming down. Let him jump around a little longer. As the clinic's reputation for saving lives spread, the line of patients stretched into the night. Qin, exhausted after a long day, felt completely drained. Arriving in the backyard, he noticed something. A woman, covered in blood, was leaning against a tree. Qin asked if she was there to see a doctor. The next second, the woman suddenly charged at him with a knife. But before she could even take a few steps, she collapsed to the ground, suffering from severe blood loss. Oh, looks like I'll be working overtime tonight. After carrying the woman back to the ward, observing carefully, I sense this woman's identity is not ordinary. Because some wounds are stuck to her clothing, some fabric needs to be cut away. At the same time, she also discovered a token hanging on the woman. Liang Qing, Military Intelligence Bureau, Section 19. Qin swallowed several times. How could someone from the Military Intelligence Bureau 19 be here? You should know that the Military Intelligence Bureau has specialists in intelligence gathering, and experts in weapons technology decryption. But Bureau 19 is only responsible for one thing, the execution of operations. The next morning, Liang Qin was awakened by a nightmare. He didn't expect him to survive such a serious injury. Qin ground the medicine while explaining what happened last night. If it had been 2 minutes later, even a god couldn't have saved him. Liang Qin checked his own body. He sat up shakily. Liang Qin froze by the door for a moment. Could I really stay here? Qin looked at the long-lost sunshine. Of course you can. But I can't offer a very high salary here. How about 5,000 yuan? Liang Qin stared at the man before her, momentarily lost in thought. From now on, my life is yours. Wherever you need me, I will go through fire and water. Just at this touching moment, a shout suddenly came from outside the door. Tanzi hurried in. Qin held his breath and began to take the old man's pulse. He discovered that the old man's body was filled with extremely heavy evil qi. It was even about to devour his life source. Qin slowly opened his eyes. Without further thought, he began to administer aid using his secret technique. Then, he further used his inner strength. Before Qin could react, he was grabbed by his tie by Tanzi. Come with me. Let's go to the jade and stone competition. The next day, Qin was taken to the largest stone gambling market in the capital. It was Mr. Tan, a leading figure in the jade gambling world, who invited him. It turns out this is a jade gambling competition. After cutting and revealing jade, there will be an on-site auction. The highest bidder wins. After seeing Qin abilities last time, I hope he can help. Then he introduced Qin partner. This matter concerns the Tan family's reputation in the capital. If Qin can help them win the championship, they will give him 10% of Tanji Jewelry shares. Seeing Qin unmoved, Tan Ziwei urged him. If you don't agree, I'll tell everyone about you keeping her hidden. Qin had no choice but to agree. After taking old Tan away, the other teammates' expressions changed instantly. So young and you think you can pick out good stones? The leader only took out a card with a few thousand yuan and gave it to Qin. You should know that this time, old Tan's funding was several million. But Qin only received a few thousand yuan. The other teammates, relying on their seniority, several of them huddled together and left. Qin, however, looked at the gold card in his hand and smiled softly. Limited funds forced him to the nearby scrap area. He looked around, searching for spiritual energy. The next second, a startling surge of energy appeared before him. The spiritual energy contained in this stone was the first he had ever encountered. He didn't expect to find such a great bargain. He hurriedly used his remaining funds to buy it. His teammate had also chosen their rough stones by now. These stones were all windowed. The chance of failure is low. Seeing Qin in the waste area, they couldn't help but taunt him. Kid, be sensible. Not just anyone can take Tan's appraisal position. Qin remained calm. Then let's see if this stone is really just a pebble. Old man Tan came over to inspect. Ready to begin the competition. Lao Su leaned in and whispered that he had chosen the two best rough stones in the entire selection. He was determined to win this competition. Master Tan examined the stone's rind. It was indeed of excellent quality, and it had already been partially opened. It was akin to a semi-revealed stone. He declared victory was certain. At this moment, a man with a small mustache came over to tease him. This person was none other than the shopkeeper of Chenji Jewelry, his biggest rival. He was also the champion of the last competition. Mr. Qian walked to the front of the crowd. I didn't expect you, Tanji. They've already started using rookies to fill in and pad the numbers. The capital is not a place for people like you. Hurry up and go back to your hometown. The stone carried by the bodyguard behind is undoubtedly a raw gem that performs exceptionally well, but old Su remains as steady as a mountain. The stone I chose today will definitely surpass his. With the host's entrance, the jade gambling competition officially begins. Master Tan then asked Qinli which stone he had chosen, but what he saw was a stone worth only 2,000 yuan. Its size and color were quite ordinary. The teammates all mocked him. This kid actually brought scrap material to compete. Mr. Tan felt that Qinli was too inexperienced. As the competition began, no one expected the first contestant's stone to be glassy jadeite. The crowd erupted in excitement. The price even went up to 42 million at one point. Lao Su was clearly panicked. Forget winning the championship. Even securing a top 3 finish would be difficult. Soon, the competition reached a fever pitch. The first place bidder's stone reached 63 million. Now it's time for the final piece, Tan's jewelry. Old Su shakily pushes the rough stone onto the stage. His hands tremble as he cuts the stone. It must yield a profit. Qinli looks speechless. Millions just thrown away. Everyone was watching with anticipation to see what kind of valuable item would emerge. As the stone was cut open, the center of the well-formed, promising raw stone turned out to be white. The 3 of them, Old Su and his companions, were stunned. How could this happen? The mocking voices from the crowd only added to Master Tan's humiliation. The host sighed, preparing to announce the end of the competition. But at that moment, Qinli slowly walked onto the stage. I still have a stone I haven't cut. Master Tan felt as if he had swallowed a fly. He was already embarrassed enough. Now he just wanted to find a crack in the ground to hide in. Qinli, however, remained extremely calm as he began cutting. Immediately, a noble green color filled the view. It turned out to be imperial green jade. The host also became excited. I didn't expect such a performance from a piece of waste material. Old Su's face turned gloomy. This kid's luck is unbelievably good. Old Tan is somewhat regretful. If all the funds had been given to Qinli, who would win the championship today would be uncertain. The next second, Qinli actually continued to cut the jade. The host was stunned. He was actually cutting jade. The audience gasped. They were afraid he would ruin several 100 million yuan worth of jade. Suddenly, a bright red light appeared in the middle of the jade. Unexpectedly, a human-shaped blood jade was embedded within the imperial green jade. The host's jaw dropped. It's been 5 years since the last time a blood jade was unearthed. It even sold for a sky-high price of 1 billion. The audience all rushed forward. They wanted to catch a glimpse of the blood jade's beauty. Qinli took out the jade, which was like blood itself. This is the blood jade that our Tan family is entering in the competition. The host immediately began the introduction. As the saying goes, 10,000 greens are easy to find, but one piece of jadeite is hard to come by. And this color is the legendary coxcomb red. Following the completion of the introduction, the crowd below has raised the price to 800 million. In the VIP section at the top, the young man shows a look of joy. This is the first time he's seen such blood jade. The elderly man beside him looks ashen and coughs uncontrollably. The young man immediately becomes worried. Grandpa, don't worry. Once we obtain this piece of blood jade, it should cure your illness. Then, I immediately bid 2 billion, a sky-high price. It was sold amidst the shock of the entire audience. Tan's jewelry naturally won the championship of this jade competition. Mr. Tan walked to the stage, like a victorious general. He hurriedly called out to Qinli, and deeply bowed to him. Thank you for saving the reputation of our Tanji. He then loudly announced that all the proceeds from this auction would be given to him. Just as Qinli was left stunned, a group of men in black stopped him. Mr. Jiang, the sponsor of this competition, invited him to a meeting. Seeing that the other party was quite polite, Qinli didn't refuse. From the magnificent villa, one could glimpse the Jiang family's power. Jiang Jun, the eldest son of the Jiang family, opened the door to greet them warmly. His grandfather also greeted them from the side. Then, Jiang Jun humbly and politely served tea as a sign of respect. There's no other reason for inviting you today. I'm just curious, could it be that did you already know there was blood jade inside? Qinli only said he felt warmth from it, so he was curious and cut it open to see. Seeing Qinli unwilling to tell the truth, Jiang Jun stopped asking. He just wanted Qinli to help him find another piece of blood jade. But just then, the old gentleman coughed again. Qinli immediately saw that the old gentleman's illness was critical. He immediately stated that he had some understanding of medicine. He wanted to feel the old gentleman's pulse. Although the other party had sought out famous doctors without success, he couldn't refuse Qinli's offer. Hearing the other party's promise, Qinli also stated that he would find the blood jade as soon as possible. Jiang Jun casually pulled out a gold card. There are 200 million in it as a deposit. There will be a substantial reward upon finding it. The next day, Qinli arrived at the medical clinic sleepily. He began repairing his damaged body. An hour later, Jiang Guozhong's complexion returned to normal. For a moment, he felt as if he had become several years younger. Qin Li's expression, however, was far from optimistic. Because this only temporarily suppressed the invasion of the baleful aura. To completely cure him, the cause of the illness needs to be found. Jiang Jun felt a chill. Grandpa rarely goes out. The food in the house is also carefully screened. Hearing this, Qin Li asked if he had received any gifts recently. Jiang Jun immediately thought of a gift. It's a huge jade pillow. The moment Qin Li saw it, he sensed that it might be an item from the tomb. Long-term contact could lead to the intrusion of evil energy. Jiang was heart-pounded. He thought the jade pillow had spiritual energy. That's why I'm freezing cold. I didn't expect it to be evil energy. Now that the cause of the illness has been found, Jiang Jun was overjoyed. The problem that had plagued him for months was finally solved. Qin Li calmly offered to help find the blood jade. It only requires one condition. His parents have been missing for 10 years. He entrusted the Jiang family's resources to help search. Jiang Jun looked at the photo. Although it's extremely difficult after 10 years, he would still mobilize the full power of the family. His expression was somewhat gloomy. I grew up in a training camp since I was 3 years old. I have no memory of what my parents looked like. Qin Li sighed. He could imagine entering the military camp at such a young age. Who knew an old man would come to see him for a headache? At that moment, the other side's marketing loudspeaker blared. Mr. Tang himself is in charge. A chance like this won't come again. The old man immediately became interested upon hearing this. Could it be the legendary top physician of the capital? After getting a response from the other party, he immediately changed direction and went to the opposite door to hang up a number. The young man on the other side even spread rumors that Qin Li's hospital sold fake drugs. Although his voice was very quiet, Qin Li's deep skills made it impossible for him not to hear it. The young man was instantly scared stiff by Qin Li's imposing presence. Tang Bohui slowly walked out. As a doctor, one must be tolerant. I've been practicing medicine for 10 years. Nowadays, even young lads dare to call themselves doctors. Then let the old man tell me what illness he has. The old man took off his hat. The entire top of his head was covered in terrifying blisters. Tang Bohu's heart tightened. What kind of strange illness is this? I've been practicing medicine for decades, and this is the first time I've seen it. Although I don't know what the condition is. But he said that bursting the pimple would be enough to detoxify. Qin Li quickly spoke up to stop him. This is a mutated viral herpes. If not handled properly, it could be life-threatening. Tang Bohu, however, didn't believe it. What harm could there be from popping a pus-filled blister? As the silver needle went in, a large amount of blood gushed out. The old man instantly felt a piercing pain. Tang Bohui was completely dumbfounded. How could it be this serious? Qin Li, realizing the life-threatening situation, rushed forward. Unexpectedly, Tang Bohui stopped him. This is my patient. You have no right to interfere. The next moment, Qin Li slapped him across the face. His life is at stake. A person like you, who lacks medical ethics, doesn't deserve to be called a doctor. He immediately activated a secret technique. He focused his energy, preparing to begin treatment. Just now, this old man's Zhongyuan energy was pierced. I don't know if I can save him even now. As the silver needles flew out, Qin Li sensed that the patient was already suffering from poison attacking the heart. It's difficult to save him with inner strength alone. It seems I can only use the Qi Sha acupuncture technique from the third level of the Fushi 9 needles. In just a few silver needles, swift and precise, had already been deployed. Before long, the old man's abscess had completely dissipated. If it had been delayed any longer, even a god would have struggled to save him. Qin Li spoke slowly. You, a quack like you, are a disgrace to the TCM community. Not only were you proven wrong, but you were also ridiculed. The old man couldn't take it anymore. Brat, if you have the guts, let's have a contest. Let's compete in treating patients. Whoever makes the first mistake. I can no longer practice medicine in this life. Qin Li remained exceptionally calm. Then I accept this challenge. Upon hearing this news in the streets, the crowds rushed to receive free medical treatment. Unknowingly, it had already become late at night. Neither side made any mistakes. From the simplest colds and fevers to difficult and complicated illnesses, they had it all. Tang saw that the number of patients at the neighboring clinic was significantly more than his own. Although he didn't want to admit it, that kid actually had some skills. He immediately gave his apprentice a wink. After a while, the woman arrived at Qin Wei's clinic. She had been feeling tightness in her chest recently. She didn't know if it could be treated. She seductively pulled Qin Li's hand towards the affected area. However, Qin Li remained unmoved by the woman before him. He began to carefully feel the pulse using his techniques. After a moment of observation, he found that the woman's pulse was steady, and it didn't seem like she had any illness. Just then, a loud scream was heard from Tang Bohuai's clinic. A man suddenly collapsed on the ground, trembling all over. Some of the apprentices nearby began performing CPR. Some began calling for emergency services. Tang Bohuai, though unwilling to accept it, was powerless to save them. The other patients felt that even the top doctor was nothing special. They left one after another. The woman learned from a passerby's conversation that something had happened to her master. She hurriedly began her act. She pretended to be dizzy and collapsed to the ground. Tang Bohu pushed through the crowd and rushed over. If you can't treat this here, we'll at most be at a stalemate. Qin Li now realized it was the other party's ploy. He immediately pulled out a 30-meter-long toothpick. I have a 50% chance of success with this treatment. If I fail, it'll only result in disability. The woman was immediately terrified. She quickly sat up and said she was just a little anemic. This also means that the outcome of the match has been decided. Tang Bohu's face is filled with anger. Leave some room for others, so we can meet again in the future. Qin Li's expression is stern. When it comes to dealing with people, I will leave some room. It's a pity you are not. After solving the matter, Qin Li, exhausted, arrived at the back hall. After a few days of recovery, Liang Qing's injuries had mostly healed. At this moment, Qin Li's phone suddenly rang. The other party informed him that the rough stone entrusted by young Master Jiang would arrive in a week. There's also something else I want to discuss with him in person. Qin Li pondered for a moment before agreeing to the meeting. Soon, yesterday's medical skill competition topped the trending searches. Tang Bohui, his face filled with rage, smashed a nearby teacup. At that moment, a knock sounded from outside the door. The visitor was surprisingly the rich second generation, Lu Mingho. He pulled out a slip of paper. It said that dealing with Qin Li would be very easy. Tang Bohui slowly opened it. This was actually a prescription. Qin Li planned to go out, to buy a house nearby to store the raw stones. His gaze turned to Liang Qing. Do you want to go for a walk with me? It'll also be good for your recovery. Liang Qing looked over, stunned. After hesitating for a moment, he nodded. Leaving the medical clinic, they found themselves on a bustling antique street. Many antiques and calligraphy and paintings were displayed on both sides of the stalls. Qin Li glanced at Liang Qing. He saw some tension on her face. After a moment's hesitation, he asked, Liang Qing, how old were you when you started training? What about your parents? Liang Qing paused. The strong man's entire body sank into the ground. Just a moment later, 7 or 8 people were already lying on the ground. Fear gradually crept onto Fang Xiao's face. Before he could escape, Qin Li's eyes narrowed sharply. He must have suffered a lot. Just as he was about to speak, his eyes suddenly narrowed. There was a strangely shaped dagger on display. Upon closer inspection, he found the blade was covered in rust, but the hilt is shaped like a dragon's claw, and it is covered in scales, densely packed. Qin Li curiously picked up the 7-headed spear and examined it carefully. He learned from the stall owner that this weapon was accidentally dug up from the ground. He eventually spent 500 to buy it. Then Liang Qing, full of curiosity, followed Qin Li's pace. The two of them walked to a hidden alley. They just stopped. Qin Li then took a lighter out of his pocket. He lit the flame. Next, he placed the dagger in the flame to heat it. As time passed, the rust on the 7 sword surfaces dripped off like liquid, until all the rust on the blades had fallen away. What reappeared before them was a silver sword with a sleek, flowing shape. Its surface seemed to be carved with scales. A golden shadow faintly appeared. Seeing this, Liang Qing's eyes were full of light. She stared intently at the dagger. Qin Li noticed her gaze. He smiled and handed her the dagger. Do you like it? It's yours. Liang Qing's eyes widened instantly. He received it with both hands, as if it were a precious treasure. He looked exceptionally excited. Just then, Qin Li answered the phone. But then came Chu Qingyin's voice, choked with sobs. Qin Li, come back quickly. Zieten, he's been captured. Qin Li's gaze suddenly sharpened. He exchanged a look with Liang Qing. Immediately, he handed Liang Qing the bank card in his pocket. Something happened at home. I have to go back. Help me pick out a villa. You must buy it today. I trust your judgment. Liang Qing was stunned. But before I could speak, Qin Li had already run far away, quickly disappearing from sight. Meanwhile, at a racetrack in the suburbs, 10 men were waiting anxiously. Grab Chu Zieten's hair. Blame yourself. I told you to just submit to me. Wouldn't that have been easier? You had to act innocent and provoke me. Now, I'm not only taking you, but also the Chu family's fortune. Chu Zieten was filled with rage, but her hands were bound. She could only roar in anger. Suddenly, the roar of a car engine sounded. It drew everyone's attention. After a screech of brakes, Qin Li, carrying a suitcase, got out of the car with a cold expression. Seeing that only Qin Li had come, cold smiles appeared on everyone's faces. Chu Zieten's face was full of disappointment. Why is it this useless brother-in-law? What use is him coming? At this moment, Fang Xiao stepped forward and spoke. You've gone to a lot of trouble coming all this way. The money's on the ground, you can go now. Qin Li put down the box. A faint voice sounded. Wasn't it agreed that paying the ransom would allow us to take the person away? Don't you kidnappers even have any credibility? The words fell from Fang Xiao and the others. A burst of wild laughter suddenly erupted. Credibility? The Chu family is really incredibly naive. Of course I want both the money and the people. Then he instructed the man behind him. Go and collect the money. The man immediately stepped forward, uttering obscenities, preparing to pick up the money box. However, in that instant, Qin Li suddenly kicked out with his foot. The man and the box in his hands were sent flying. Even a few people behind them were affected by the force. In an instant, banknotes filled the air. The noise caught their attention. Fang Xiao abruptly turned his head, but he saw a scene that he would never forget. How arrogant this rich second generation was. He not only bound the woman to the wilderness, but even after receiving 100 million yuan in ransom, he still spoke arrogantly. He wanted both the woman and the money, but this time, he picked the wrong person to mess with. In this moment, the wind stirred the fallen leaves. Qin Li unleashed a punch. The man who charged forward had his cheek instantly caved in. Even the baseball bat shattered into 2 pieces. Then, another kick followed. Another person was kicked flying more than 10 meters away. At this moment, a burly man tried to launch a sneak attack from behind. He raised a club and swung it down hard towards the head. But Qin Li's speed was even faster. With a quick sidestep, he appeared behind him. Then, his knee struck with sudden force. I suddenly felt my insides turn upside down. Then Qin Li appeared in the doorway. A wave of energy surged around him, keeping the dust at bay. Qin Li's eyes swept over. A cold voice echoed in the room. He took a step forward. In the blink of an eye, he appeared before him. He grabbed his shoulder and threw him to the ground. A streak of blood coughed out the moment he hit the ground. Following that was a fierce fist. It slammed down towards his handsome face. Blow after blow. Even AI Hao couldn't make a sound. Chu Zitan, not far away, raised her eyes. Her face was filled with shock. Several seconds later, Qin Li finally stood up. On the ground lay a sprawling mess. Qin Shi hurried to Chu Zitan's side. He helped her untie her bonds. Chu Zitan stood up with a complex expression. At this moment, the image of her useless brother-in-law grew taller in her mind. One lightly pursed her lips and spoke. Qin Li, my school is having a party next week. Would you like to come? Consider it my apology. After this little incident, Qin Li returned to the clinic the next day. As soon as I approached Liang Qin, he spoke woodenly. Boss, I've completed the task you assigned. You can go to the sales office to handle the procedures today. Qin Li's face showed considerable surprise. He hadn't expected it to be done so quickly. He immediately stopped hesitating. He called Liang Qin and rushed to the sales office. He had planned to take a short nap in the car. Suddenly, Qin Li's phone rang. As soon as he answered, Jiang Jun's voice came through. Qin, my friend, I've bought 10 shops in Jiangqing. 57 comics, I'll give them to you to set up a clinic. 57 comic books have already been registered under your name. Qin Li was stunned for a few seconds and asked, Young Master Jiang, are you serious? Jiang Jun laughed heartily, of course, I'm serious. They've already started renovations. Besides, you are a great benefactor to my Jiang family. So, when are you coming to Jiangqing? I'll send you a villa then. Qin Li said indifferently, thank you, young Master Jiang. But I've already bought the villa. No need for you to spend the money. The call ended shortly after. Qin Li and I also arrived at the sales office. As soon as we entered the lobby, a woman came over and looked at Liang Qin. Miss Liang, why did you suddenly come? Why don't I see Mr. Qin with you? Liang Qin pointed at Qin Li. Manager Yang, this is my boss, Qin Li. He's the buyer of Villa number 1. Yang Min sized him up. A trace of disdain flashed in her eyes. She remembered that Director Zhao also wanted to buy this villa last night, and gave her a 500,000 tip. Instead, a cold sneer appeared on his face. I'm so sorry. The villa you booked earlier has already been sold. Liang Qin stepped forward and questioned. I was the one who paid the deposit first. What right do you have to resell it to someone else? Yang Min coldly snorted. Because Tianzi number 1 is our most prestigious villa. Naturally, only the most distinguished person deserves it. Qin Li said calmly. Is going back on your word your family's reputation? Yang Min dismissed it, saying, so what? A fool like you has no right to live in our Tianhao villa. However, at that moment, another cold voice sounded. You're right. Our Tianhao hotel indeed only receives guests of high standing. But Mr. Qin, you are our Tianhao's most honored guest. She then turned and walked purposefully to Qin Li. Hello, Mr. Qin. I am Jiang Chuxue, the manager here. I contacted you by phone earlier. I'm the one who provides information on raw material sources. Qin Li turned around unhappily. I'll come back when you're ready to process the paperwork. I'll come back then. Seeing this, Jiang Chuxue quickly spoke. I'm sorry, Mr. Qin. My people have been neglectful of you. I will make sure the villa is taken care of for you. But Qin Li didn't say another word. He led Liang Qin out and left. They completely disappeared from view. Jiang Chushue's expression immediately darkened. He instructed several bodyguards. From today on, I don't want to see her. The woman, in order to frame the newly opened clinic, went so far as to make her face full of pus. Upon seeing Qin Li appear, the woman seemed even more agitated. She shouted, pointing at her face. I used the skincare products you sold. Now my face is a mess because of it. Qin Li was stunned. Apart from the ointment he made for Lu Wan, he hadn't sold any skincare products. Before he could speak, a woman's sharp voice suddenly rang in his ears. Officer, arrest him quickly. He's nothing but a fraud who schemes for money and kills people. The two law enforcement officers also made a move, preparing to take Qin Li back for investigation. Liang Qin took a step forward at this moment, and stood in front of Qin Li. She coldly spoke. Are you saying that we don't know anything about the issues in our clinic? On what grounds do you take him away? Qin Li, however, was calm and slowly put his hand into his pocket. He immediately called Lu Wan. He said calmly, don't be nervous. I just need a witness. The two officers finally relaxed. Shi reached out to take the phone. This is the Yangqing Patrol Bureau's enforcement team. Jinquan Hall is suspected of selling fake skincare products. Before he finished speaking, Lu Wan interrupted. Fake skincare products? That's absolutely impossible. Just wait, I'll be right there. The phone call ended shortly. Lu Wan hurried to the medical clinic. She immediately saw Qin Li in the crowd. Qin Li then stepped forward and asked, Sister Lu Wan, the ointment I gave you earlier, did you sell it to someone else? Now someone claims I sell fake medicine. That caused their disfigurement. Lu Wan smiled. I've used up all of the previous ones. Look at my skin. How could I bear to give it to others? Then her gaze swept across the few people. These people, they think they can buy medicine from Jinquan Hall. At this moment, a nearby law enforcement officer spoke up. This lady, is everything you said on the phone just now true? Lu Wan immediately handed over her business card. I guarantee it as a lawyer. Got a positive response. The officers then turned to the women. We will definitely investigate this matter thoroughly. If we find anyone lying, she will definitely bear the legal responsibility. As soon as these words were spoken, the faces of several women immediately showed signs of panic. The enforcer's gaze was so sharp that he immediately noticed the trick. He spoke up and questioned them. A stern command was issued. I quickly explained the truth. It was a Mr. Tang who gave us a prescription. He said that as long as we framed Qiankan Tang, we would receive substantial benefits. Qin Li finally understood. He didn't expect this Mr. Tang to be so persistent. Meanwhile, Tang Guohuai and Lu Mingho were leisurely playing chess. Suddenly, a hearty laugh rang out. Director Lu, your move is brilliant. That kid is checkmated. However, at that moment, the doorbell rang. He walked to the door, and was peering through the peephole to see who had come. However, the next second, the security door was kicked open with force. Tang Bohu was knocked back by the impact. His whole body slammed heavily against the wall, and invited him to meet at my Lanja this afternoon. A female CEO with a net worth of over 100 million. Now, to please a young man, has actually handed over Yangqing's largest entertainment venue. It turns out that just now, she sent the address via text message to Jiang Chuxue. Dr. Tang, you're seriously injured. Would you like me to take a look? The moment Qin Li appeared, a flash of panic crossed Lu Mingho's eyes. In the next instant, he suddenly stood up, and pulled a gun from his bag, pointing it at Qin Li. Her face was covered with. At the same time, Liang Qin's legs suddenly exerted force, and she jumped several meters in an instant. In the blink of an eye, she was right in front of Lu Mingho. She raised her fist and struck directly. Lu Mingho hadn't reacted yet. He was struck. Next question. A few of his teeth were shattered. His body was sent flying by the force. He slammed heavily into the wall behind him. Liang Qin looked coldly at Lu Mingho. What kind of trash are you? Do you dare to play with guns? At this moment, Qin Li stepped forward slowly. Lu Mingho's trembling body leaned back. His face was filled with terror. Qin Li looked at him with amusement. He said lightly, don't be nervous. I was just seeing if you could still move. Not long after, law enforcement officers came and took Lu Mingho away. They apologized to Qin Li. Mr. Qin, we are so sorry for what happened today. We almost wrongly accused you. Qin Li waved his hand dismissively. However, at that moment, Qin Li's phone rang with a text message alert. He opened the message. Jiang Chuxue explained inside, the villa paperwork is complete. Please take care of me in the future. Qin Li said indifferently, Mr. Jiang, you're too kind. But what kind of cooperation did you mean just now? A flash of brilliance appeared in Jiang Zhe's eyes. He then spoke, I hear that Mr. Qin created a unique ointment that cured Ms. Lu Wan's severe acne. Qin Li took a taxi to Milan residence. Seeing Qin Li arrive, Jiang Chuxue quickly stood up to greet him. She invited Qin Li into the private room. Then she handed him a document. Mr. Qin, your house purchase procedures are complete. As long as you sign and pay the remaining balance, the house will be yours. Cha turned and introduced. This is Jiang Zhe from the Jiang Group. I heard you came here specifically to meet with him. He also wants to discuss a potential collaboration with you. Qin Li frowned slightly. He waited for the other party's explanation. At this time, the man spoke. Mr. Qin, hello. Like Mr. Jiang, I am also a subordinate of young Master Jiang. I was just transferred to Yangqing to manage the Jiang's entertainment project. That's it. I want our Jiang Group to be responsible for the production and sales of your ointment. With you holding 80% of the shares and the Jiang family holding 20%. What do you think? How does that sound? Qin Li fell into thought after hearing this. The Jiang Group's influence. They're estimated to hold significant influence throughout the entire Jiang province, with them as a foundation. This medicine can indeed achieve a much greater effect. Jiang Zhe saw Qin Li hesitating, and thought he was unhappy with the small share of stock. He immediately turned his head and winked at Jiang Chuxue. She understood immediately. She quickly offered a document to Qin Li, to make up for yesterday's apology. I'm gifting Mr. Qin the largest entertainment venue in Yangcheng. Please, you must accept it. However, Qin Li decisively refused. Director Jiang, you're too kind. You already handled yesterday's matter. I can't accept this gift. Jiang Chuxue said softly, Mr. Qin, if you don't accept it, it means you haven't forgiven me yet. I specifically asked him to help me find another one. He found it in just a few days. Meanwhile, Qin Li had just landed at Jiang City Airport. As soon as he went outside, he saw Jiang Jun. He immediately gave him a bear hug. Qin Li frowned. He set down his tea. If Director Jiang insists on this, I'm afraid we won't be able to finish this tea today. Jiang Chuxue was startled. She quickly adopted an apologetic expression. Mr. Qin, if you don't want it, then don't. Then I'll take this back. At this time, Jiang Zhe came before Qin Li. If that's the case, then please accept this gold card. You can use it to enter all entertainment venues under the Jiang Group in the future. It's free of charge. This time, Qin Li couldn't refuse. He reluctantly picked it up. Seeing this, Jiang Zhe and Jiang Chuxue both sighed in relief. While pouring tea, Jiang Zhe once again cautiously asked Mr. Qin, what are your thoughts on the ointment collaboration? Qin Li nodded slightly and pondered. Let's do this. Jiang's company provides the production line and sales channels, and we'll each hold 50% of the shares. I'd like my wife to be the shareholder. How does that sound? Jiang Zhe's face lit up, and he quickly nodded. Then I will prepare the contract and send it to you tomorrow. At this moment, Jiang Chuxue spoke up, Mr. Qin, I just received the news. The raw stone supplier from Jiang province will make a brief stop at the Tianhao Villa area tonight. Qin Li immediately stood up. In that case, then I won't disturb you two any further. Not long after leaving Milan residence, Qin Li contacted the raw jade supplier. Looking at the pile of jade raw stones, he couldn't help but let out a long sigh. In the following time, Qin Li began the cutting work. But as time passed, all the rough stones in the basket were cut open, but he hadn't even seen a trace of the blood jade. Qin Li set the self-luminous stone aside, and fell into deep thought. Suddenly, he exclaimed, I first encountered the blood jade, through spiritual energy sensing. It's clearly purer than ordinary jade, even with a hint of manic energy. Thinking this, Qin Li didn't hesitate. He directly reached out a hand. I wrapped my spiritual energy around my 5 fingers. Then I controlled the spiritual energy and dispersed it around me. I probed into each crate of raw ore. In just a moment, I sensed an unusual aura. Through the spiritual energies index, they quickly identified a rough stone. Qin Li held it in his hand. As expected, its aura was almost identical to the blood jade from last time. After handling the blood jade matter, Qin Li returned home in the early morning. But he saw Chu Qingying and the others sitting in the living room. Everyone wore a gloomy expression. It was like the prelude to an impending storm. This was the first time the man had tried staying out late, and he was immediately suspected of having an affair by his wife. Qin Li scanned the cold eyes. A sense of unease rose in his heart. Before he could speak, Chu Qingying pointed at the photo on the table and coldly scoffed. You still know how to come home. That little vixen at the medical clinic. What kind of love potion did she give you? Then Han also stood up. He started to scold Qin Li. Qin Li didn't say a word. Instead, he walked straight to the table. He picked up the scattered photos on it. The moment he saw them, Qin Li's expression immediately turned cold. These photos are all photos of his life with Liang Qing. Qin Li spoke coldly. Do you have anything else to say? Quickly explain who this woman is. Qin Li sighed helplessly. This girl was injured and homeless before. After I saved her, she volunteered to work at the clinic. I'll give her a call. You'll understand then, he said and dialed Liang Qing's number. Liang Qing's voice came through the line. So I explained the whole story. The heavy atmosphere in the house instantly dissipated. Han then realized she had wronged Su Li. A wave of guilt immediately flushed her face. Chu Qingying's expression also softened considerably. Immediately, she linked arms with Qin Li and walked upstairs. At that moment, Qin Li paused. He suddenly remembered something. Right, Jiang Corporation and I have a joint venture. They'll be coming to the house tomorrow to sign the contract. Chu Qingying widened her beautiful eyes, exclaiming in surprise. Jiang Corporation, could it be the top family business in the whole of Jiangsu province? The top family enterprise in all of Jiangsu. The scene shifts to the second morning. Early in the morning, Jiang Zhe takes the drafted contract to pay a visit. Then he stood up and smiled subtly. Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Jiang. If I encounter any problems I don't understand in the future, I will need to trouble you again for your help. A gleam flashed in Jiang Zhe's eyes. Miss Chu, you're too kind. I've heard Mr. Qin mention you before. In terms of ability, I completely believe you can handle the CEO position. Chu Qingyin's eyes rippled. So in Qin Li's heart, she was actually so excellent. I just remembered that Qin Li went to Jiangqing today, he murmured quietly. Could it be because of the company matter? Jiang Zhe said seriously, that's not it. Mr. Qin previously offered over 100 million in blood jade. That's why our group's young master Jiang. So it's Master Zhou Wei. The man let out a cold laugh. It's better than you, Jiang Jun. Being a homeless dog repeatedly driven back from the capital, you can only bluff people in a small place like Jiangqing. Jiang Jun's anger instantly flared up. Qin, you're amazing. I didn't expect you to find the blood jade so quickly. It must have taken you quite a while, right? Then they put Qin Li in the car, driving towards the tea house. Soon after, Jiang Jun walked with Qin Li, saying, my father heard that you were coming, so he cancelled some engagements in advance, just to thank you in person. As the words were spoken, the two of them entered a private room. A middle-aged man stood up excitedly when he saw Qin Li arrive. His expression was full of excitement. Grandpa just got out of danger, but he started convulsing all over again. The doctor urgently told the nurse to get the defibrillator. Despite countless efforts, Grandpa's heart stopped beating. I'm sorry, I'm helpless. He quickly took the wooden box. The moment he saw the jade, Jiang Limin's eyes trembled. He never expected in his lifetime to see a 7-colored jade, a rarity seen only once in 10 years. Upon hearing this, Jiang Zhe exclaimed in surprise. Is that the 7-colored jadeite that sold for a sky-high price of billions? Jiang Limin nodded solemnly. That's right. It said that the last time it appeared was many years ago. He then looked at Qin Li with gratitude. Mr. Qin, you really are the Jiang family's lucky star. Once again, you've helped us immensely. Qin Li smiled faintly. Then he exchanged a few polite words. At this moment, Jiang Jun suddenly remembered something. He took out a document from his bosom and handed it over. The matter you entrusted me with last time, regarding your parents' whereabouts. I've gathered some rumors. Take a look at them first. Most of the information inside seems pretty far-fetched. The credibility isn't very high, but actually, there's one piece of news. That's not recorded in there. That's your parents' figure. They appeared in Shangjing once in the past 2 years. Qin Li's face was stunned. Shangjing? Is this news true? Jiang Jun said seriously. I just received this news as well. I'm still verifying. I'll notify you once it's confirmed. Qin Li nodded. Then I'll trouble brother Jiang. Not long after leaving the tea house, Qin Li followed Jiang Jun into a hotel. Jiang Jun introduced on the side. This is the hotel run by my sister. It's somewhat famous in Jiang City. However, just then, a cold, clear voice called out to Jiang Jun. He turned around. A beautiful figure came into view. What exactly happened? The woman suddenly leaped off the rooftop from a height of 100 meters. Just now, Qin Li followed Jiang Jun into the hotel. A cold voice rang out at that moment. Jiang Jun had promised to take me shopping today, so where did you go? Jiang Jun's face immediately flushed with embarrassment. He only then remembered the incident. After a few seconds, Jiang Jun began to introduce. Brother Qin, this is my sister, Jiang Ran. Hearing this name, Qin Li felt a sense of familiarity. He seemed to have seen it in a magazine. It said she was only 20 years old, and had already monopolized the entire Jiang City catering market, a formidable female entrepreneur. Then, he politely extended his hand. Hello, my name is Qin Li. But the woman coldly snorted. She turned her head to the side, clearly indicating she didn't want to pay attention. Seeing this, Jiang Jun quickly explained. My sister has a quirk. I don't like being around men. Please bear with me, my friend. But just then, a man rushed over. Jiang Ran frowned. Manager Niu, what's with all the commotion? Don't you see there are guests here? The man didn't even catch his breath, immediately saying, Mr. Jiang is in trouble. An employee is trying to jump off the building. The security captain has already taken people to the rooftop. Jiang Ran's face instantly changed. He directly left a few people behind and ran toward the elevator. Jiang Jun looked at Qin Li apologetically. I'm really sorry. I originally planned to take you out for a meal. I didn't expect something like this to happen. Qin Li smiled and said, since you consider me a brother, there's no need to be so polite. Let's go up together and take a look. Meanwhile, on the hotel rooftop, a young woman stands on the edge of the building, swaying her body. It seems a slight breeze could upset its balance. At that moment, the woman lifted her foot to step out. Jiang Ran's voice sounded from behind her. Don't be impulsive. Whatever your request, I will try my best to fulfill it. Only then did the woman react. In a turn of the head, a fleeting, subtle gleam flashed in her eyes. Qin Li happened to catch this scene, immediately becoming suspicious. This woman's death was probably more complicated than a simple suicide. Before he could warn anyone, Jiang Ran darted forward, intending to subdue her. But the next second, the woman suddenly reached out, directly seizing Jiang Ran's wrist. Then, she spun around and leaped. Jiang Ran was swept off the rooftop. Below was a 100-meter drop onto concrete. The woman didn't seem the least bit afraid. Instead, a smile played on her lips. The moment she was pulled from the rooftop, Jiang Ran's mind went blank. It felt like my heart stopped beating. But at that moment, a figure dashed past like lightning. In the blink of an eye, he grabbed both wrists. Immediately, he exerted tremendous force with both hands. He threw the woman onto the rooftop with her. At that moment, Qin Li seemed to have exhausted all his strength. Before he could catch his breath, Jiang Ran's falling body crashed heavily onto him. Suddenly, Qin Li's eyes widened. He sensed a figure suddenly attacking from behind. It was the woman he had rescued. Qin Li immediately focused his finger. A silver needle appeared out of thin air. It plunged towards the woman's neck. The moment it pierced, the woman seemed to have been drained of all her strength. She collapsed straight to the ground. At this moment, Jiang Jun appeared in front of her. "Qin, you're amazing. How did you do that just now?" Qin Li calmly replied, "It's nothing. But I noticed a problem right away. So I made a preemptive judgment." Yao Pai spoke again. "I suspect this building has been afflicted by an array set by someone who understands metaphysics. Maybe even someone died here before." A look of disdain crossed Jiang Ran's face. "What kind of joke is this? Even though you just saved me, you can't curse my hotel like that." With that, she turned and left immediately. He ran over to check on the woman's condition. Seeing that the storm had subsided, Jiang Jun called Qin Li, and they decided not to stay here any longer. They re-entered the hotel. Jiang Jun, still feeling uneasy, said, "That was really close. If it weren't for you, the consequences would have been unimaginable." Qin Li smiled indifferently. "Young Master Jiang, you're too kind. You've helped me so much before. It's a small matter, don't worry about it." As he spoke, he tossed another jade gourd. Suddenly, the jade gourd seemed to sense something. Streams of pure true qi gushed out. Not long after the two left, Jiang Limin arrived at the hotel with an elderly man wearing a Taoist robe. The elder was calm and composed. His eyes shone with brilliance. His face showed composure. But the next second, his expression changed instantly. His eyes were filled with shock as he looked at the building. "It seems the one who set up this formation is no ordinary expert. No more than 2 people in Jiangsu province can solve it." Then, he entered the hotel with a heavy heart, guided by the compass. The old man found the eye of the formation, but he was surprised to find a bright green gourd standing right at the eye of the formation. The old man picked it up. A gleam flashed in his eyes. Where did this jade gourd come from? A man behind him spoke. "It seems to be the one that the man following young Master Jiang dropped." The old man pondered for a few seconds. He walked over to Jiang Limin. "If it weren't for this jade gourd, everyone in this room would have exploded. Perhaps only this expert could break this local array." The man casually threw down a jade gourd. He actually suppressed all the evil in the 100 Shanghai building. After learning the origin of the jade gourd, Jiang Limin immediately contacted Jiang Jun, and brought Qin Li back to the hotel. Seeing Qin Li appear, Jiang Limin immediately stepped forward. "Mr. Qin, this is Cheng Taiyuan, a feng shui master from Jiangcheng. Master Cheng has identified the problem with Xiaoyan's hotel, but there's something I still need to ask you." Cheng Taiyuan then spoke. "I saw the ominous energy outside the hotel area just now, but I found something amiss. Until I discovered this." Speaking, he spread his hands, revealing a bright green gourd. Qin Li was startled. "This wasn't the one I placed in the planter with the greenery. What's the problem?" Cheng Taiyuan burst into laughter. "Unexpectedly, a young hero has emerged. If it weren't for Qin Xiaoyu placing that thing, I'm afraid there would have been another loss of life." Qin Li said calmly. The murderous aura of the formation was restraining the woman from jumping. "I just placed the jade gourd at the center of the formation, but it can only suppress it temporarily. Then, I moved to the rooftop." Qin Li immediately borrowed 7 steel coins from Cheng Taiyuan. He focused his energy and enveloped them with spiritual power. Then, he threw them into the air. They landed precisely in the 4 corners of the rooftop. In moments, the sky began to turn murky. The temperature plummeted. Streams of blood-red shadows, condensed killing intent, constantly drifted in the air. A series of mournful howls echoed. Cheng Taiyuan's expression changed instantly. He hadn't expected the murderous aura produced by this fierce formation to be as powerful as an evil spirit. Qin Li's expression was calm, as if he had expected it. He even had a dragon claw-shaped dagger in his hand. Then, he gripped the hilt of the sword with both hands, and forcefully thrust it into the ground. In an instant, a buzzing sound filled the air. Then, centered around Qin Li, a violent gale swept out in all directions. Golden array symbols even appeared beneath his feet. A few seconds later, the malevolent energy was completely dispelled. Qin Li sheathed the dagger. He turned his attention to Jiang Ran. "The woman who jumped from the building earlier should be fine now. You can call to check." Jiang Limin stepped forward, looking at Qin Li in amazement. "Thankfully you were here today. Otherwise, Xiaoyan's hotel might have had a serious incident." He then resumed his kind fatherly smile. "Xiaoran has a bad temper. If I said anything wrong, I hope Xiao Qin won't take it to heart." Qin Li felt a strange, helpless sense rise in his heart and nodded. After finishing the hotel matters, Jiang Jun led Qin Li into the Mingyan Palace, Jiang City's most luxurious restaurant. Then, he easily found the manager, and asked him to arrange a private room. The middle-aged man looked apologetic. "I'm so sorry, young Master Jiang. Mingyan Imperial Palace is fully booked today." Jiang Jun's gaze swept around. His expression wasn't good. "Don't you have seats outside? Are you kidding me?" However, at that moment, a clear, cold laugh rang out. I wondered who it was. "Isn't this young Master Jiang?" Jiang Jun's face gradually darkened. He forced a smile, his eyes fixed on the newcomer. "So it's you, such a spendthrift, renting out the entire Mingyan." The cabin instantly descended into chaos. Only Jiang Ran remained where she was, at a loss. But at that moment, a large hand covered her nose. She was violently pulled into a nearby restroom. A familiar scent filled her nostrils. Qin Li's brows were tightly furrowed. He strode over aggressively. "Say that again if you dare. Don't forget a year ago. The lesson I taught you in the hospital." But Zhou Wei pressed forward instead of retreating. Jiang Jun was stunned. With a sudden kick, she forcefully aimed at Jiang Jun's chest. Jiang Jun immediately reacted, raising his hand to block. But he was still forced back 4 or 5 steps. Only then did he manage to steady himself. Jiang Jun stared hard at her. The force of that kick. It was far beyond his understanding of Zhou Wei. But even so, Jiang Jun still showed no sign of retreat. He suddenly powered his legs. With a lunge, he charged forward. Zhou Wei reacted quickly and leapt up at the same time. But at that moment, Zhou Wei's speed was even faster. He dodged the punch with a sidestep. The next instant, a powerful fist came hurtling straight towards Jiang Jun's forehead. It even whistled through the air. If that punch landed, Jiang Jun would be either dead or seriously injured. But just then, a figure approached like a gust of wind, immediately kicking out. Zhou Wei's body flew like a cannonball, crashing to the ground and sliding for over 10 meters before stopping. Jiang Jun was stunned. He turned abruptly to look at the figure that had just appeared beside him. Seeing that familiar face, his eyes immediately widened in shock. He only knew that Qin Li was a doctor, but had no idea he was also such a skilled fighter. At this moment, Zhou Wei struggled to get up. His face looked extremely grim. "I didn't expect someone so powerful to be by Jiang Jun's side. He must be a guy with internal strength." He gritted his teeth and then said, "Jiang Jun has someone else helping you today. You're lucky, kid." With a cold snort, "We'll see about that." Leaving those harsh words behind, he turned and left. Jiang Jun then put his arm around Qin Li's shoulder. His face showed gratitude. He immediately greeted, "Let's go eat first. Don't forget you have a flight to catch this afternoon." Jiang Jun paused suddenly. "Oh, right. Jiang Ran said she's going to Yangqing too, so I booked the same flight as you. Could you please keep an eye on her then?" Qin Li's mouth twitched. "Screw you." A sleazy old man openly hitting on a flight attendant on the plane. It seemed he wasn't finished. He slapped the woman's buttocks again. However, all this was intentional. He did it solely to lure the captain out of the cockpit, because he was a vicious and ruthless robber. The moment the man pulled out his gun, "The friend I met in Shangjing." Qin Li froze. He recalled the information Jiang Jun had gathered earlier. Could it just be a coincidence? He didn't have time to think further. The elder approached to inquire about the illness. "Stay here and be good. I'm going out for a bit. Remember to lock the door behind me." Outside, the man searched high and low. He couldn't find anything valuable. Just as he was looking gloomy, a child's cry was heard. It only made the man even more frustrated. He immediately raised the gun and walked up to the boy. He was about to shout and stop the crying. However, in the next second, a fist, carried by the wind, slammed into his face. The man was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. He slammed hard against the seat behind him. A man, one of the hijackers, glared and shouted angrily. Then he pointed the gun at the captain's temple. "Since you dare to make a move, don't blame me for being impolite." At the moment he pulled the trigger, Qin Li charged forward again. In the blink of an eye, he leaped before the mercenaries. But he still underestimated the speed of the firearms. The next moment, gunshots rang out and blood spurted. A shocking sound of bone breaking suddenly followed. After taking down 2 mercenaries, the passenger plane also arrived smoothly in Yangqing. Qin Li casually said goodbye to Jiang Ran. Then he immediately rushed back to the clinic. Although in the instant the bullet was fired, he tried his best to dodge. He still got grazed on the shoulder. Watching Liang Qing skillfully bandage his own wound, Qin Li's eyes flickered. "Have you ever considered that your teammates might still be alive? And finding them?" Liang Qing's body trembled. "Boss, do you mean I can still find them?" Qin Li nodded faintly. "If you want, I can help you track down their whereabouts." Liang Qing thought for a few seconds. He solemnly handed a document to Qin Li. "Then, I'll leave it to you, boss." The sky was getting darker. Outside, Qin Li returned to the villa he had purchased earlier. As soon as he entered, he saw Chu Qingyin busy moving around. She heard the sound of the door opening. Qin Li walked in front of her. He embraced her with heartache. The company just opened recently. You must be under a lot of pressure in all aspects. Chu Qingying shook her head. It's okay. It's just that my previous company, they invited me to tomorrow afternoon's exchange meeting. Qin Li raised an eyebrow. Before, they pressured you. They forced you out of the company. So, do you still want to go? Chu Qingying nodded. A trace of worry arose. But if I go, wouldn't that just play into their hands? Qin Li smiled calmly. Now that we have the Jiang group as our backing, they can't stir up any trouble. I'll go with you tomorrow. As night fell, Qin Li infused a trace of spiritual energy to nourish the wound. A tingling sensation followed in his shoulder. This scene happened to be witnessed by Chu Qingying, who had just entered. She quickly stepped forward and concernedly said, "Be more careful outside. Dad is still hoping to have a grandson." Qin Li's old face turned red. He didn't expect Chu Qingying to bring it up. He didn't know how to respond. After a moment of hesitation, he spoke. "Well, aren't you into girls?" Chu Qingying's gaze grew dim. "Actually, before you, I knew a senior. In the end, I almost got tricked and nearly died. After that, I started to develop a resistance toward men." Qin Li took her delicate hand in his. With a firm expression, he said, "Qingying, don't worry. I will never allow anyone to hurt you again." Chu Qingying's heart trembled. "Qin Li, thank you for your tolerance all this time. I apologize for what happened in the past. But I haven't finished." Chu Qingying was pushed onto the bed. As she lay down, ripples appeared in her eyes. "Let the past be the past. Tonight is a new beginning for us." At this moment, a sudden gust of wind arose, destined for a sleepless night. The next morning, Qin Li pulled Chu Qingying into a 4S shop. He immediately set his sights on $1 million off-road vehicle. But just as he opened the car door, a cold voice rang out from behind him. "Who told you to open the car door? Do you know how expensive this car is? Can you afford to pay if you damage it?" Qin Li froze for a moment. He furrowed his brow. "How would I know if it's easy to drive without testing it first?" The man scratched his head. "A test drive is possible, but you'd need to pay a deposit in advance. What if you damage the car during the test drive? What if you can't afford to pay for the damages?" A billionaire's first car purchase. But he's treated like a country bumpkin. Not only is he not allowed to touch it, but he's also forced to pay a hefty deposit. Chu Qingying's face turned cold. She heard the implication in the man's words. It was clearly deliberate harassment. She turned to Qin Li. "Since they don't want to do business, let's go take a look next door." Qin Li nodded. He turned and walked out. The man sneered at this moment. "Don't you even know your place? We can't even afford it here. Yet you go to the Lamborghini store next door." The man wanted to continue watching the fun, but he saw the two walk straight in, and the staff member was even giving them a demonstration. The man was instantly flustered. He quickly jogged over to Manager Wang. "You let him test drive such an expensive car. They can't even afford our car, let alone $1 million sports car." Manager Wang smiled calmly. "Providing excellent service to every customer is just our basic job." At that moment, Qin Li handed over the bank card. Smiling, he said, "How did you know I can't afford it?" "No need to test drive. I'll pay in full." Manager Wang's face instantly lit up with a smile. "Boss, you're so generous. I'll take care of it right away. Please head to the VIP lounge to wait and relax." Before leaving, she looked at the man with a dark expression. The general manager couldn't resist teasing him. "Thank you for sending me a big client." The man's heart seemed to shatter into pieces. After completing the car purchase formalities, Chu Qingying linked arms with Qin Li and headed to the Huangtu Club, Yangqing's most luxurious entertainment venue. But at this moment, Qin Li's phone rang. Looking at the incoming call, Qin Li felt a headache coming on. It was Jiang Ran, that troublesome person. He turned to the beautiful woman beside him. "I'll go take this call. Wait for me here." Chu Qingying nodded. She stared at Qin Li's back. It seemed as if nothing else could fit in her eyes. Qin Li avoided the noisy hall. He entered the quieter restroom. Jiang Ran's voice sounded even colder. "The minor Yangqing exchange conference. Why can't I go? Besides, the economy of Yangqing was built up by the Jiang family, wasn't it?" Qin Li sighed. Helplessly, he said, "If Miss Jiang is willing to come, then let her." Right at the top floor of the Huangtu Club. At this moment, Jiang Chushue happened to be walking out. Qin Li was startled, then his face lit up. "Manager Jiang, could you help me pick someone up? I'm not too familiar with this place." His face fell again, a look of worry on it. "It's your Jiang family's Jiang Ran. She lives in a suite on the second floor of the Imperial Club." Jiang Chushue immediately became serious. She quickly bade farewell to Qin Li. On the other side, in the reception hall, Chu Qingying was having an animated conversation with a woman. A sarcastic voice suddenly sounded in my ears. I turned to look. I saw a woman with a thick waist, walking towards me with a sway in her step. "So you really came when called? Dressed like that, are you trying to seduce some rich guy?" Chu Qingying's face turned cold. "Lu Xiuqin, watch your mouth. Don't think everyone is like you." The words had barely left her mouth, when Lu Xiuqin raised her hand, and slapped it directly across Chu Qingying's face. Immediately, Lu Xiuqin shouted angrily, You little bitch, no matter how far you run, you have no right to lecture me. At this moment, Qin Li returned to the hall. He noticed a red mark on Chu Qingyin's face. Lu Xiuqin saw Qin Li appear. With a mocking expression, isn't this the useless husband of Chu Qingying? Just now, I was the one who taught your wife a lesson. The moment the words fell, a fist suddenly swung out. Lu Xiuqin's face was directly knocked to one side. Her fat body also wobbled in the air. It smashed onto the floor several meters away. The entire building seemed to tremble slightly. Qin Li's eyes were filled with icy coldness. A trace of killing intent gradually arose within him. Suddenly, Lu Xiuqin screamed wildly on the ground, her body rolling and thrashing about. At this moment, a middle-aged man pushed through the crowd and ran over. Lu Xiuqin looked at the man, tears streaming down her face. Old Chen, you're finally here. Chu Qingyin's husband, that little bitch's husband, hit me. The man was instantly enraged upon hearing this. You actually let your husband hit Supervisor Lu. Why don't you apologize right away? Chu Qingying stared coldly at the man. She started the trouble, so why should I apologize? The man's eyes widened in shock. Don't think you're impressive just because you opened a new company. We just signed a contract with the Jiang family. Offend me, and I'll make sure you can't stay in Yangqing tomorrow. But just then, a cold voice rang out. I want to see today. Just who dares to cause trouble here? Lu Xiuqin immediately said, who the hell are you? Dare to interfere in my business here? Jiang Chuxue stepped forward. Just because she's the precious daughter of our Jiang group. These words sent shivers down Lu Xiuqin's spine. Her hair stood on end as if possessed. The precious daughter of a top-tier family. I was actually verbally humiliated by a fat woman. After she learned my identity, the woman's curses abruptly stopped. Her eyes were full of shock and fear. Her body seemed to freeze for several seconds. Only then did Lu Xiuqin come to her senses. Quickly stepping forward, hello, Director Jiang. I'm Lu Xiuqin, the supervisor of Tianying Cosmetics. This is our manager Chen. Jiang Chushue's face turned cold. You were the one who insulted our Miss Jiang just now. Lu Xiuqin panicked instantly and hastily explained. We're here for the exchange meeting. Who knew this person would suddenly hit me? Director Jiang, you absolutely must intervene. Then he switched to a fawning smile again, as if already seeing Qin Li and the other's fate. But he didn't notice. Jiang Chushue's face had turned as dark as the bottom of a pot. Tianying Cosmetics Company, right? The contract is terminated from now on. The penalty for breach of contract will be compensated by the Jiang family. As soon as these words were spoken, the two of them were instantly busy. President Jiang, are you sure you've got this right? Shouldn't both of them be punished? Jiang Chuxue let out a cold laugh. I'm not mistaken. You insulted our Jiang family's young lady. Insulted the second largest shareholder of Jiang Corporation in Yangqing. Insulted a friend of our Jiang family's young master. Now you understand. Her words fell. Their hearts felt as if struck by lightning, shattered in an instant. At this moment, Chu Qingying transformed, becoming a being they could only look up to. Then Jiang Ran slowly spoke. All this time, it's the first time I've been scolded like this. Chu Shui, it's up to you now. Jiang Chuxue immediately stepped forward. She had the security escort the two of them out of the Huangtu Club. At this moment, Jiang Ran placed a glass in front of Qin Li. I've taken care of the problem for you. How about pouring me a glass of water? Qin Li was about to nod. Chu Qingying suddenly reached out and said, let me do it. I also want to thank Miss Jiang Ran for today. Jiang Ran's eyes flickered. She exchanged a glance with Chu Qingying. He then looked at Qin Li. Noticing Qin Li's gaze, he immediately reacted. Right, Jiang Ran, this is my wife, Chu Qingying. His voice fell. The two women looked at each other again. A sense of tension spread in the air. Qin Li's eye twitched. His intuition told him it would be best to leave for now. He arrived at the bathroom. Qin Li was feeling a headache coming on. But then, a seductive voice sounded in his ear. Mr. Qin, you're so impressive. So there are things to be afraid of too. Qin Li said helplessly, I really don't understand. Why do they have so much hostility? Then he seemed to think of something. He reached into his pocket. I have something. Could you please give this to Jiang Zhe for me? I want to check on the whereabouts of the people listed here. The identities of these people are quite confidential. Have Jiang Zhe help me search for some intelligence. Jiang Chuxue solemnly accepted the USB drive. Thank you for your trust, Mr. Qin. I will personally hand it over to Mr. Jiang. On the way back, Qin Li explained his relationship with Jiang Ran, and he promised young Master Jiang to help take care of it. Hearing this, a glint of cunning flashed in Chu Qingying's eyes. She then said seriously, just now, Mr. Jiang had a chat with me. He asked if I wanted to develop in Jiangqing. Actually, I had thought about it before. I don't want to be a frog in a well for my whole life. After all, there are better resources in Jiangqing. Qin Li smiled faintly. What you said is right. This isn't the end. You also need a broader stage in life. Chu Qingying hesitated and said, then will you leave with me? Qin Li gave her an affirmative look. If you want to, I'll settle the clinic and then accompany you. At the same time, the two of them unknowingly returned to the villa. At that moment, a young girl was waiting at the door. She noticed the vehicle driving in. She quickly stood up to greet them. Entering the house, Chu Ziden's eyes shone brightly. This was her first time seeing such a luxurious villa. Suddenly, her expression changed. She remembered why she came here. Then she smiled sweetly at Qin Li. Our school is holding a social event in a couple of days. Didn't you promise to go with me? Seeing Qin Li hesitate a bit, then switch to a worried expression. You're not trying to back out, are you? What if those people bully me again? At this moment, Chu Qinyin stepped forward to smooth things over. Since you've promised Ziden, you should go with her. Qin Li could only nod helplessly. Only then did Chu Ziden let out a sigh of relief. She gave a cold snort and turned her head away. But all sorts of past memories flooded her mind. A trace of guilt gradually rose on her face. A month passed in a flash. It was also the day she had agreed with Chu Qinyin to leave. A hint of loneliness appeared on Yang Qin's face. Qin Li naturally noticed that she was acting strangely today. But there wasn't time to think. He gave a few final instructions, then waved goodbye to Liang Qing, leaving behind only a lonely figure. The 99th generation successor of the Fui 9 Needles was actually treated like a country bumpkin. It turns out that Qin Li had just arrived in Jiangqing, and Jiang Jun rushed over as soon as he heard the news. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, Jiang Jun told Qin Li that this person was not only a medical doctor, but also the founder of a prestigious medical clinic, Xingfen Hall. Jiang Jun paused. He hesitated, then said, "It's just that this person has been pursuing my sister, but she rejected him. The reason is you. Apparently, that girl said you're her idol. If you want to win her heart, first raise yourself to her level." As they spoke, the two walked into the private room. Jiang Ran and a stern-faced man were sitting inside. Qin Li was about to approach and be friendly, but the man spoke first. "So you're Qin Li, the divine Dr. Jiang Ran admires. I thought you'd be more impressive. Turns out you're just a country bumpkin." Qin Li was speechless. He wondered what Jiang Ran had told him. A picture of bitterness and resentment. The man looked at Jiang Ran with a somewhat proud expression. "I, too, am a medical doctor who has won countless awards. How could he compare to me?" Jiang Ran, however, was unfazed. "How do you know he's not better than you? Maybe you still need to learn from him." A blush of shame and anger appeared on the man's face. He was about to continue arguing, but a phone call rang at that moment. He impatiently pressed the answer button. The voice on the other end sounded rather urgent. Suddenly, he abruptly stood up. "What did you say? Isn't that patient stable now?" Then, hanging up the phone with an apologetic expression, she said, "Brother John, Xiaoran has a patient who's had some complications. I have to rush back immediately." Meanwhile, Jiang Ran calmly spoke. "Can we go together? Maybe Qin Li can help." The man let out a cold snort. "Him. If he dares, let him follow." Soon after, the man rushed into the hospital with Qin Li. The nurse was followed by a group of people who came up to him. Before the man could react, he was immediately restrained by this group, each holding one of his arms. Then, an elderly man with gritted teeth stepped forward. "Young master, Bao's life is hanging by a thread. Xia Wenba, what the hell are you playing at? You promised me before that you would cure the young master, but you broke your promise." Then, raising a palm, she brought it down forcefully towards the man's neck. At the moment it was about to land, a large hand appeared out of nowhere, stopping the elder's movement. Qin Li spokely, "Even if you hit him now, it wouldn't benefit your young master in any way. It's better to let him go in quickly and take a look." The old man was furious upon hearing this. "Who are you? Do you want to be beaten too?" He was about to pull his hand back, but he found that his wrist seemed to be gripped by a giant claw. No matter how hard he tried, it wouldn't budge. Qin Li reminded him again, "We don't even know the patient's current condition. No one dares to guarantee whether the patient's deterioration is a precursor to improvement." The elder listened, then thoughtfully considered this. There's some truth to those words. Then he released the man's collar. Xia Wenba finally breathed a sigh of relief. He quickly adjusted his collar. This scene rekindled the old man's anger. "What are you hesitating for? Hurry up and watch carefully. Otherwise, I'll make you crawl out of here today." They turned to the hospital room. There, a young man was lying with his eyes tightly closed. Qin Li immediately activated his true energy to investigate, but he couldn't feel any life force from the young man. He felt like he was missing something. Meanwhile, Xia Wenba had been examining the young man for quite some time. No cause was found at all. He had no choice but to go ahead with the needle, but suddenly, a sudden, sharp sound interrupted his actions. At this moment, Qin Li stepped forward. "Dr. Xia, if you give him that needle, you might kill him." Then, I opened the patient's collar. I saw a tumor, about the size of an egg. Xia Wenba was startled. He never expected it to have metastasized. To save him now, he'd have to have all his internal organs replaced. At this moment, the patient's body suddenly started convulsing. Xia Wenba became even more at a loss. At this point, Qin Li no longer held back. He quickly took out a silver needle from his chest. Then he began channeling his spiritual energy. He inserted the silver needles into the acupuncture points on the young man's chest. The man's acupuncture skills were superb. With a flick of his wrist, he saved the young man's life. As the data on the monitor returned to normal, the medical doctor standing nearby was greatly astonished. The room fell silent for several seconds. The young man slowly woke up. The old man's heart finally settled. Tears welled up in his eyes. "Master, you're really alright. It was Dr. Qin who saved you just now." The young man's gaze fixed on Qin Li. Surprise flickered across his weak face. "Master Qin, how come you're here?" Qin Li was slightly startled. "What do you mean? Do you know me?" The young man finally snapped back to reality. "Sorry, I thought you were someone else. No one wants to provoke them." Meanwhile, the others, hearing the name of the Sky Wolf gang, didn't bother with anything else. Immediately fleeing the scene, the young man on the ground was also desperately begging for mercy. Su Meiran spoke again. Qin Li calmly responded, "Give me the medical records. Then I'll prescribe some supplementary medicine, and it will be fine." The elder quickly handed them over upon hearing this, his face filled with gratitude. While pausing to write, Qin Li ignored the flattering Xia Wenbo, but fell into deep thought, and decided to find an opportunity to go to the capital and inquire. After everything was done, the young man had regained some color in his face, and expressed deep gratitude to Qin Li. He instructed the old man to book a private room at the top club in Jiangcheng, Sky and Earth, for 3 days later. Then, he sent an invitation to Qin Li. He also hoped that Dr. Qin would come and show support at that time. Qin Li exchanged a few polite words with him. He left the hospital. On the way back, Jiang Jun began to speculate about the young man's identity. From the bodyguard addressing him as Young Master Su, and his northern accent, he was most likely from the Su family in Beijing. And the Su family, like our Jiang family, are prominent families of Shangjing. Speaking of which, Jiang Jun paused. "It's just that we were framed and driven out of Shangjing. I previously asked you to find the blood jade. It's also for next week's birthday celebration for the patriarch of the main family. But I didn't expect that news of the patriarch's serious illness would come. My family hasn't thought of a solution yet, but I don't want to trouble you again." Qin Li smiled faintly. "Didn't you say we were brothers? The illness will be cured, and the burden is on me." 3 days later, Qin Li arrived at Tianshan Renjian as promised. After 3 rounds of drinks, Su Yinran leaned in. "Dr. Qin, aren't you curious or shocked about my identity? Aren't you curious or shocked about who I am?" Qin Li shook his head. "In my eyes, you are just a patient." Su Yinran's eyes flashed with admiration upon hearing this. "Right up my alley. I've decided I'm making you my friend." But as the words left my mouth, the private room door was suddenly flung open, and a figure flew out. Just then, a man walked in through the door. He glanced around. "Is this one of yours? He just spilled wine all over me." Su Yinran frowned. "Brother, I think there might be a misunderstanding between my friend and you." "Is there some kind of misunderstanding?" the man said stubbornly. "This guy broke the rules of my Tianlang gang. If you don't want a beating, get the hell out of here." The moment he finished speaking, Su Yinran's pupils constricted. Jiang province seemed to be controlled by the Jiang family, but that's not actually the case. Jiang province also has an underground force. That is the Unwolf gang. Even the Jiang family has to be wary of them. Although it's just a dark force, its influence stretches across all of China. They're even ranked among the top in Shangjing's underworld. Ultimately, it's because they're a martial arts organization, and martial artists, as the name suggests, are martial arts masters. These people understand hidden strength. Therefore, the Tianlang gang is very difficult to deal with. He stopped a dozen centimeters away. Then he suddenly slammed his foot to the ground. Countless pebbles flew outward. His intentions were clear. He wanted to begin torturing his opponent psychologically, using this to display his overwhelming strength. "How about this? You name a price. I'll pay you on behalf of my friend in cash. Then we'll consider this matter settled." The man laughed after hearing this. He laughed insanely. "Do you think the Tianlang gang is short of money? But since you want to stand up for your friend, then let me see you take this punch. If you can take it, I'll let him go." Su Yinran's face instantly changed. He realized this person was deliberately picking a fight. He was about to introduce himself. A deep voice sounded from behind. "The Sky Wolf gang, huh? How about I take that punch for you?" Su Yiran stopped him. "Qin Li, don't be reckless. They have a powerful background," Qin Li said confidently. "Su Xiao, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. There won't be any problems." He then walked up to the man. "Today, I really want to see just how strong the Tianlang gang is. The fearsome underground forces have challenged an unknown young man. They threaten that as long as he takes one punch, today's offense will be forgiven. This punch comes with the force of the wind, carrying a surge of power as it suddenly lands." Qin Li stepped back. True Qi infused his hand. He skillfully deflected the force. The man's heart tightened. He hadn't expected the other side to also know hidden strikes. Then he raised his hand again and threw a punch. "Dodging doesn't count." Qin Li immediately raised his hand. He casually blocked it with ease. A wild look surged on the man's face. His aura began to rise steadily. Seeing the man get serious, Qin Li no longer held back his clumsiness. He struck with a punch filled with true energy. In an instant, the two sharp fists collided. It felt as if the air itself was being forged. Su Yinran quickly stepped in to stop them. I am Su Yinran of the Su family from Shangjing. Brother, could you give me some face? The man's face froze. Immediately, he put on a smile. So it's young Master Su. Since young Master Su has spoken, then we'll let this matter drop. As he left, he glanced at Qin Li. I didn't expect you to have such skills. I wonder who your master is. Qin Li said indifferently, I'm just an ordinary doctor. I just like to exercise. The man laughed heartily. If it's inconvenient to disclose, then forget it. But if you're interested in joining Tianlang, you can always reach out to me. After the people from Tianlang left, Su Yinran walked up to me. Hey, Qin Li's skills are impressive. And told Qin Li that he would leave Jiangqing in the next couple of days and return to Shangjing. If there's a chance in the future, he would definitely visit the Su family. Qin Li nodded, his smile conveying everything. Leaving Tianshang Renjin, Qin Li just returned to the villa. Jiang Jun called immediately. You haven't forgotten, have you? You promised to go to Shangjing with me. Qin Li asked in confusion. Isn't it next Monday? There are still 3 days left. Jiang Jun explained. The Jiang family in Beijing is one of the top families. We need to prepare in advance. We'll leave at 8 a.m. tomorrow. It's settled then. After hanging up the phone, I couldn't help but sigh. Just going to Beijing for a trip. This is the first time I've seen young Master Jiang this nervous. Then I thought, if it hadn't been for meeting the warrior from Tianlang, I wouldn't have realized I haven't cultivated in a long time. The old man passed down a whole set of martial arts techniques. Although it earned me quite a bit of money, looking at it now, it seems the old man had other intentions. Thinking about this, Qin Li cast aside the distractions in his mind, and immersed himself in his cultivation. This trip to the capital is also a good opportunity to learn the truth. The next afternoon, Qin Li's flight arrived at its destination. Xiangjiang City's unique prosperity was filled with antique charm and solemnity. The two of them wandered around the city center for a long time. They eventually walked into the Zisher Entertainment Club, but they didn't notice at all that every word and action of theirs at this moment was being observed by a pair of eyes. The woman saw her chance and made a call. He leaked their whereabouts. After more than 10 rounds of clashing cues, Qin Li completely subdued Jiang Jun. Seeing that he was going to continue, he mentioned his participation in the birthday gift preparation tomorrow. Jiang Jun sighed upon hearing this. There is a hint of melancholy on his face. It's still because of this matter. It seems that returning to the main family won't be so easy. Qin Li felt puzzled. Is someone trying to obstruct it? Jiang Jun nodded. Back then, my dad was framed. We injured a whole family. Because of that, we were banished from Shangjing. Although the culprit was later caught, we've never had the chance to explain this to the old master in person. So I'll need your help again tomorrow. Find an opportunity to show the old master his health condition. Qin Li was about to speak, but suddenly, he saw more than 10 people push the door open and enter. Each of them had an unfriendly expression. Jiang Jun saw the newcomers. His face instantly darkened. The leading man pointed forward. The director, that's them. They made a scene in this shop, damaging public property. The middle-aged men acted as if they had conspired. Without asking any questions, he directly ordered the enforcement officers to arrest the two. Jiang Jun sensed danger. He prepared to let Qin Li leave first. The Zhou family's show of force was clearly aimed at him. Qin Li said calmly, is the Zhou family that powerful? How does it compare to the Su family? Jiang Jun frowned. You mean the Su family from Shangjing, right? Although the Zhou family is powerful, it's still far behind the Su family. Why do you suddenly ask about this? Qin Li didn't respond this time. Instead, he directly dialed Su Yinran's number. The man casually made a call. It could actually get the young master of a big family to support him. I want to see today, who dares to falsely accuse my Su Yinran's lifesaver? Zhou Wei's face instantly turned panicked. She quickly explained that it was all a misunderstanding. The middle-aged man beside her froze in place. He had thought to curry favor with the Zhou family, but instead, he had offended the Su family. His career was essentially over. In a moment of distraction, Su Yinran's gaze turned toward him. Director Zhao, do you want to arrest me too? The middle-aged man suddenly broke into a cold sweat. Young Master Su, please don't joke with me. I was just momentarily confused. It was Wei who threatened me to do this week. If I don't comply, he'll cause trouble for my family. Su Yinran's gaze was cold as ice. I don't want there to be a next time. Get out. Have the unrelated people leave. Su Yinran then asked about Qin Li's purpose for this trip. Qin Li said calmly, I came with young Master Jiang to participate in the birthday celebration for old Master Jiang, and to see to the old master's health as well. Su Yinran nodded slightly. He frowned again. According to the information my Su family received, the Jiang family's patriarch this time, I'm afraid it's more than just a simple illness. On the day of the celebration, Qin Li arrived at a large house with an antique design. Jiang Limin's face grew more serious. He repeatedly reminded them that the gift must not be flawed. The three of them then entered the courtyard. Jiang Jun was about to present the gift, but at that moment, a voice from behind called out to him. Hearing the voice, Jiang Jun's expression immediately darkened. Jiang Ziang, what are you trying to do again? The man sneered. Don't think that sending a few worthless things every year will allow you to dream of returning to the main family. I advise you to leave immediately. Don't make a fool of yourselves here. Qin Li revealed a playful expression. Brother, why don't you take a look at what this is first? The man looked unconcerned. What's there to see in trash? Don't we have enough of that stuff already? However, as the words left his mouth, a cry of surprise came from the bustling entrance, instantly drawing everyone's attention. Everyone wanted to buy it. Jiang Ziang was also shocked when he heard the words Linglong Blood Jade. He was incredibly surprised. He quickly changed his tone. Everyone, I was just joking earlier. That blood jade was given with good intentions. We reluctantly accepted it. Jiang Jun shot a furious glance. Do we have the right to enter now? Jiang Ziang knew he was in the wrong. He simply waved his hand and said nothing more. He entered the house. Countless upper-class dignitaries had already gathered inside. Jiang Limin then spoke. Xiao Qin, you go explore for a bit. Let's go greet the host. Qin Li nodded. Finally, he sat down in a corner. His gaze fell upon the crowd. He couldn't help but sigh. The Jiang family's relationships are truly intricate. Each of them is a big shot in the military, political, and business worlds. They are families that control the lifeblood of the nation. Now he understands clearly. Jiang Jun and the others want to return to the main family. They will inevitably face enormous resistance. While reflecting on this, a familiar figure waved and approached. Su Yinran noticed the surprise in Qin Li's eyes. He explained, my family has some collaborations with the Jiang family. So, my family sent us younger generations here. Then Qin Li followed him to a seat. A man and a woman were already seated there. Su Yinran introduced Qin Li to the two of them. The woman spoke at this moment. So you're Dr. Qin. I didn't expect you to be so young. Thank you for saving my brother. Qin Li gave a slight salute. It was just a small effort. Please don't mind Miss Su. Su Yinran pointed to another person. This is my older brother, Su Chang. Qin Li stared at the man for a long time without speaking. Noticing the gaze, Su Chang asked in confusion, what's wrong, Dr. Qin? Is there something on my face? Qin Li finally snapped out of it. Sorry, I was rude. It was just a professional habit. Su Chang was stunned after hearing that. A professional habit? Could it be that Dr. Qin thought, do I have any diseases? Qin Li smiled faintly. If I'm not mistaken, Big Brother Su just returned from a mission, right? Su Chang nodded, gesturing for Qin Li to continue. Although you look full of energy, but years of accumulated injuries have led to an internal imbalance and excessive internal heat, thus causing a stubborn illness. Based on your current physical condition, you must absolutely never undertake dangerous missions again. Furthermore, if your condition continues to be neglected, he'll most likely be left with permanent disabilities. A flash of surprise crossed Su Chang's eyes, but he quickly concealed it. He immediately let out a cold snort. Permanent disability. So it seems you're just a big talking liar. The man merely glanced at him, and concluded he had a serious illness. As a high-level martial artist, Su Chang naturally knew his current physical condition, but facing the covetous eyes of other families, he could only force himself to bear his battered body, overawe all threats. Su Yinran wanted to dissuade him, but Su Chang glared him into silence. Just mind your own business. It's none of your concern. Qin Li didn't know the reason, but it's not good to continue saying anything. I still decided not to stay here. After saying goodbye to Su Yinran, I turned and walked out, but I had only taken a few steps when Su Yinran followed. My older brother has a rather straightforward personality. He's like that with everyone. Brother Qin, don't take it to heart. Qin Li gave a faint smile. I didn't mind. Brother Su probably has his own reasons. Su Yinran finally breathed a sigh of relief, but he also felt a little worried. Could his older brother really have some unspeakable secret? Soon, Qin Li disappeared from everyone's sight. He went to a long corridor to take a walk. Suddenly, Qin Li's pupils contracted. It was as if he had discovered something unbelievable. He saw that in the courtyard ahead, an overwhelming murderous aura was emanating. Driven by curiosity, Qin Li went inside. He found the entire mansion. It was built entirely of Sephora japonica, wood with extremely heavy yin energy. Immediately afterward, Qin Li peered through the wooden window. He saw an unbelievable sight. An elderly man lay on the bed with his eyes tightly closed. Qin Li immediately broke down the door, but as he stepped into the room, even stronger demonic energy erupted from the ground, attempting to engulf him quickly. Qin Li sensed danger. This place had actually been set up with an array, and it was an extremely vicious evil spirit array. Qin Li quickly steadied his mind, and summoned the silver needles he carried with him. He infused them with true qi. Then, with a casual flick of his wrist, He dispelled several evil spirits formed from malice. But not only did it not reduce, instead, more and more evil spirits are constantly emerging from the ground. At the same time, Qin Li also sensed the aura of this murderous formation was extremely similar to the one at the Hotel Jiang Ran was in before. However, the current situation didn't allow him to think too much. He could only focus on dealing with it. But luckily, the old man had taught him formations back then. Everything in the world follows certain patterns. As Qin Li's figure kept shifting, the formation also fluctuated slightly. Slowly, Qin Li was able to pinpoint the location of the formation's core. Waiting for the right moment, Qin Li leapt into the air. The evil spirit seemed to sense the threat, suddenly becoming even more frantic. Its shadowy form seemed to solidify slightly. Qin Li had no choice but to summon the silver needles again. He dispelled the evil spirits in front of him. Taking advantage of the brief moment when the evil spirits gathered again, Qin Li raised his hand and struck with a punch. It was aimed directly at the weak point of the formation. After a deafening roar, the air instantly resumed flowing. His vision cleared again. Qin Li let out a long sigh of relief. He hadn't expected such a simple formation to leave him so exhausted. It further strengthened his resolve to improve his cultivation. Then he looked towards the elderly man on the bed. His face was already turning blue. He looked like a corpse lying there. Qin Li felt his pulse. He found it extremely weak. If they had arrived a few moments later, even a god wouldn't have been able to save him. Immediately, Qin Li focused his mind, inserting a silver needle into the old man's forehead. He channeled pure true qi into the old man's body, dispelling the lingering evil energy hidden throughout his body. His complexion changed from its previous ashen hue to a deathly pale. The old man also awoke from his coma. Qin Li directly revealed his identity. He explained the whole story. After listening, the old man sighed. So it seems, I almost died at my own birthday banquet, and it was ruined by my own people. Qin Li was somewhat stunned. Are you Mr. Jiang? Do you know who harmed you? The old man sighed, saying, if it weren't for my son, I wouldn't be in this state. Qin Li's expression changed. So that's how it was. Jiang Li Min's family also entrusted me to come here and treat your illness. The old man paused. I have let down Jiang Li Min's family. They probably still hope to be able to return to Shangjing, although I also want their family to come back. But as you can see, I'm afraid my body. The old man tried to stand up as he spoke, but he failed several times. His gaze suddenly became hazy. Qin Li felt a chill. It seems the previous evil energy has caused his leg nerves to die. The third level of the Fushi 9 needles might work. He then spoke, I can cure your legs, and even restore your body to health. But I have one condition. That is to allow the Jiang family to return to the main family. What kind of family is it? That demands even collateral branches have martial artists. If not, they are not allowed to step foot in the capital. It turns out it was just now. The news of old Master Jiang's recovery spread through the Jiang family like a whirlwind. The current head of the Jiang family, Jiang Hanchang, received the news and quickly rushed back. He sat in the second seat, his expression fluctuating. The elderly man sat in the main seat. With a stern expression, he said, I've called you all here today to announce something. I've decided to allow Jiang Li Min's family to return to the main family. His words had barely left his mouth when Jiang Ziang abruptly stood up. Grandpa, have you forgotten what happened back then? Are you senile? Jiang Hanchang frowned at this. How can Ziang talk to your grandfather like that? How could your grandfather possibly allow someone who has made mistakes to simply return like this? Another person also chimed in. That's right, our Jiang family has never had such a precedent. The elder pondered for a few seconds, turning his gaze to Jiang Limin. About that incident back then. You should come out and clarify it. Jiang Limin nodded. He signaled Jiang Jun to distribute the documents. For a moment, the room buzzed with discussion. Many people found the documents strange. Seeing this, Jiang Hanchang let out a cold laugh. Then he spoke. Dad, although I also want the Li family to come back, but it seems that the elders have some doubts about this document. At this moment, a calm voice sounded. I have another document here. This was compiled by young Master Jiang Jun, a separate document for the head of the family. Jiang Hanchang's gaze fixed on Qin Li's face. Is that so? Then I must take a good look. However, our Jiang family meeting doesn't allow outsiders to be present. He was about to drive Qin Li out. The old man immediately stopped him. Then he stood up from his wheelchair. Jiang Hanchang was stunned for a moment. A smile squeezed out from his face. Dad, how did your legs suddenly get better? You didn't even tell me. The elder coldly snorted. Those things you did. Don't think I don't know. That file in Dr. Qin's hands. Take a good look at it. Jiang Hanchang's heart sank, holding the documents in his hand. The moment he saw them, his heart sank. His whole body trembled slightly. The old man ignored him, instead facing the crowd. Everyone has seen Li Min's document. What do you think of it? Before anyone could respond, Jiang Hanchang spoke up first. Dad, I think it's fine if Li Min and the others come back. I think it's fine too, but we can't just return like this. unless their family can produce a martial artist. Upon hearing this, everyone in the Jiang family hall nodded in agreement. They all approved of Jiang Hanchang's suggestion. The elder also hesitated at this moment. This is the only way to satisfy everyone for now, but he knew that ordinary people would need at least a decade or more of uninterrupted training to reach the level of a junior martial artist. He then sighed softly, turning his gaze to Jiang Limin. What level has Xiao Jun reached in his training so far? Jiang Limin felt a heavy weight in his heart. Uncle, although Xiao Jun is young and strong, becoming a martial artist will take at least 10 years, if not longer. Jiang Jun's face darkened. Take a step forward. Dad, since they are deliberately making things difficult, why should we continue staying here? Jiang Hanchang burst into laughter. This is Xiao Jun giving it up himself. You can't blame us for not letting him. Hearing this, Jiang Liming could only sigh helplessly. It seems that returning to the capital in this lifetime is no longer possible. After leaving the Jiang family mansion, Qin Li and the others returned to the villa. They watched Jiang Liming sigh repeatedly. Jiang Jun couldn't help but ask, apart from martial artists, is there really no other way? After hearing this, Qin Li fell into thought again. The term martial artist he had heard countless times since arriving in the capital. It was used by that person from the Skywolf gang earlier. Could they be the martial artists they were talking about? He then asked young Master Jiang, have you ever heard of the Skywolf gang? Jiang Jun's face changed slightly. The Skywolf gang? Why did you suddenly ask about them? Qin Li explained. I previously encountered someone from Tianlang at an entertainment club in Jiang City. I even exchanged a few blows with him. Jiang Limin, who had looked so despondent, was instantly stunned. His expression changed as he suddenly looked towards Qin Li. So, that means you're a martial artist, little Qin. So, little Qin, you're a martial artist. Qin Li shook his head. I'm not quite sure about that. But this, martial artist, you're talking about, what exactly does it mean? Jiang Jun slowly spoke. I heard a friend mention it before. In our world, there exists a special group of people who live beyond the rules. These people are martial artists. Martial artists are divided into 9 levels. Low-level martial artists are similar to trained fighters, while a third-level martial artist can shatter a large stone with a single palm strike. High-level martial artists can even move mountains and fill seas. But at the time, I thought my friend was boasting, so I didn't listen any further. Speaking of which, Brother Qin, have you ever tried breaking a large stone with your bare hands? Qin Li shook his head. I haven't tried that, but if you only want to reach this level, it's not impossible. For ordinary people to transform into martial artists, they must endure 10 years of arduous training. Yet this man claims he only needs 3 months. It can allow a strong young man to reach the point of crushing a large stone with his bare hands. Qin Li picked up a brown pill and placed it in front of him to examine carefully. Its color and smell were exactly the same as the marrow-washing pill the old man described. At this time, Jiang Jun walked in. He wondered why I wasn't sleeping in the early morning. What was I messing around with in the kitchen? Qin Li handed him the pills in the bowl. Jiang Jun casually grabbed 2. He held them to his nose and sniffed. A rich, fragrant scent of Dan medicine rushed into the nostrils. Jiang Jun's originally tired eyes instantly brightened with a gleam of light. Qin Li explained calmly. This is the marrow-washing pill I refined. It can purge the impurities from your body. The cultivation achieves twice the result with half the effort. But before Qin Li could finish speaking, Jiang Jun directly threw both pills into his mouth. A look of enjoyment appeared on his face. Qin Li suddenly looked at Jiang Jun. You ate both of them? Jiang Jun nodded. Don't be so stingy. It's just 2 of your pills. Qin Li said seriously, that's not what I meant. For ordinary people taking pills for the first time, they usually need a medicinal guide. If you swallow 2 pills at once, your body may not be able to withstand the potency of the medicine. Next, in order to expel the excess medicine from his body, Jiang Jun has to undergo high-intensity refinement. An hour later, the restlessness in his body has disappeared. Qin Li then cleared the meridians in his body. Jiang Jun felt incredibly comfortable at this moment. It was as if his whole body was filled with strength. Qin Li smiled faintly. The primordial marrow pill only changed his physique. The following training is the main event. At that moment, his phone in his pocket rang. After answering, Su Yinran's voice came through. He was inviting him to attend the Su family's military banquet in the afternoon. Jiang Jun heard the news, and his expression instantly changed. Qin, you don't know. This military banquet, it's actually a competition between the top families of the capital. You know Zhou Wei from the Zhou family? Do you know why he's so afraid of Su Yinran? Actually, his fear of the Su family is just a pretense. What I'm truly afraid of is Su Chang of the Su family. Su Chang not only became a commander at a young age, but he's also a martial artist who has won the military banquet championship for 4 consecutive years. If you were to attend the military banquet, you might be able to meet these martial artists from prominent families. Qin Li suddenly realized this. At the same time, a hint of curiosity arose in my heart. How strong is the martial arts power of the Shi family? After a long while, Qin Li stepped into the Su family's grand mansion. At this moment, in the center of the arena, Su Chang emanated the aura of a martial artist. It was clearly a struggle. The next second, he was knocked off the ring with a punch. A trickle of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He crashed heavily onto the ground not far away. Two figures quickly rushed over to help him up. Their faces showed concern and surprise. Many in the audience were discussing amongst themselves. Both are fourth-level martial artists. Su Chang was defeated in just a few rounds. It seems the position of Su family commander is not safe. Su Imran caught sight of Qin Li. His eyes lit up instantly. Brother Qin, could you help take a look? My older brother was injured during a sparring match just now. Take off Su Chang's clothes. A deep scar immediately caught his eye. Qin Li examined it closely. He discovered it was an old, stubborn injury. It would really help to relax and recuperate. But because I fought while injured earlier, my entire meridian system has been damaged now. A hint of panic flashed across Su Chang's face. Dr. Qin, please keep your voice down. I have news about an old injury. Please keep this a secret. As a repayment of a favor, Qin Li didn't speak. Instead, he took out a pill. This is a marrow washing pill I refined. It should help your injuries. You might as well try it. Su Chang was somewhat surprised. This is a top-grade pill in the martial artist world. I heard it can nourish the essence, strengthen chi, and quickly repair meridians. I've been searching for a long time and haven't been able to obtain one. I couldn't help but look up to Qin Li. I didn't expect Dr. Qin to be able to refine it. What a true genius of this era. At the same time, a voice echoed from the fighting platform. How much longer do you Su family want me, Qin Mias, to wait? If you want to fight, keep sending people. If not, then surrender quickly. The man's words showed his contempt for the Su family. Su Chang gritted his teeth, but now he was seriously injured, and could only sit there helplessly. Su Shiyu suddenly leaped onto the ring. I'll fight you next. Qin Mayusi sneered. Miss Su, this isn't good. Your body probably can't handle one of my attacks. But Su Shiyu couldn't hold back. She immediately kicked out with a powerful leg strike. However, Qin Mayusi easily blocked it. It even wandered up her leg. Miss Su truly lives up to the title of the flower of the army. Her touch is really quite good. This girl is stepping into the ring for the first time, and she's already taken advantage of by her opponent. Not only has she been touched on the thigh, she was even verbally harassed. But not only did the man not show any mercy, instead, he suddenly exerted force with his hand, violently throwing her body out. The moment Su Shiyu fell to the ground, a fierce fist came hurtling towards her. A fist was inches from my face. It was about to hit me. In an instant, a figure blocked me. They met the fist with a punch of their own. At that moment, it felt like the air itself exploded. Qin Li sized him up and down. You actually dared to attack a woman? Qin Mu sneered. And who are you, you insignificant fish, trying to play the hero? Both men took a step back. It's not exactly a case of a hero saving a damsel. I just think you're impressive. I couldn't resist coming over to learn a few moves. But if I manage to win even a couple of rounds, could you do me a favor and apologize to Miss Su? Qin muses, would you let me apologize instead? I see you're tired of living. Just a moment. An incredibly powerful aura emanated from him. In the blink of an eye, he leaped in front of Qin Li. A heavy punch suddenly struck out, landing beside Qin Li's ear, like a gust of wind sweeping past. Watching the other person stand still, unmoved. Qin Mio's face was full of smiles. Even his speed couldn't keep up, so it's just another good-for-nothing. Then he lifted his foot again. She fiercely thrust out a silver needle. The slightest misstep, and her eyes would be injured. Qin Li didn't dare to be careless. He could only deflect her wrist, and retreated. He heard the gasps from the viewing platform. His heart swelled with immense satisfaction. He leaped again, preparing a move to completely defeat Qin Li. However, the next second, Qin Li simply raised his hand slightly. He completely blocked his attack. Before he could react, Qin Li unleashed a direct punch. Qin Muse was hit as if by a tremendous force. His body uncontrollably flew backward. He landed outside the ring. The field seemed to fall silent for a few seconds, until Qin Li stepped down from the broadcast platform. Suddenly, a deafening cheer erupted. But at that moment, a man in military uniform walked over, and stood in front of Qin Li. You're quite a talented young man. Have you considered finding a place to belong? I have a commanding position available here. I wonder if you're interested. Qin Li's gaze was fixed on the man. He didn't quite understand the meaning behind it. Su Chang saw the doubt in Qin Li's eyes and said, Brother Qin, this is Wang, Chief of Staff, from our China's General Headquarters. Qin Li bowed slightly. Chief of Staff Wang, hello. Thank you for your kindness, but I'm used to being unrestrained. I just want to be an ordinary doctor. Wang Shui gave a faint smile. Young man, not everyone gets such an opportunity. You need to think it through. Besides, as an outsider, you helped the Su family publicly defeat Qin Miaoxi. The Qin family will probably have a hard time handling this. Qin Li detected the threat in the words, but after a moment of thought, he decided to let Wang Shi continue speaking. Actually, every year's military banquet is for selecting talent for the Chinese military. If you can defeat Qin Miao's, it will prove you are qualified to be the leader. Then you'll be under Su Chang's command. You'll be considered part of the Su family, and you won't have to worry about heavy responsibilities. You're currently living in Jiangqing. I didn't intend to assign you a task. Qin Li thought to himself, the other party truly deserves to be a staff officer. He's a real old fox. Seeing Qin Li's silence, Wang Shi started to apply pressure. Don't you want to serve China? Still think the position is too low? A hint of helplessness rose in Qin Li's heart. They're trying to put the blame on him. He quickly explained, Senior Wang, you're joking. You've considered everything so thoroughly. How could I possibly refuse? Wang Shi immediately waved his hand. A woman carrying a wooden box walked over. She handed a badge with a wheat ear pattern to Qin Li. The character, Wu, was firmly engraved in the center. Alright, little brother. Our mission is complete. I believe we'll meet again soon. Qin Li watched the departing figure. He was deep in thought about the last sentence. What did meet again mean? Su Yinran suddenly stepped forward, breaking the silence. Brother Qin, you're amazing. Qin Miaoxi wanted this badge for a long time but never got it. Can I take a look? Qin Li handed it over. Then he remembered something and asked, you mentioned before, Master Qin, who looks very much like me. Could he be from the Qin family? Su Yinran shook his head, seeming to say no. Actually, I've only met him once. He should also be a martial artist. It was through a family connection back then. I found him to help treat my deceased brother's illness. I noticed he was somewhat down. A hint of apology appeared on Qin Li's face. Su Chang stepped forward at this time. Brother Qin, if you want to investigate, this badge will be quite useful. This is a magical badge. With it, you can enter the world of martial artists. To gather the information he needed, Qin Li walked into the martial artist bar with the badge. Looking around, it was just much larger than an ordinary club. At first glance, most of the people mixed in exuded the aura of warriors. At worst, they had reached the level of junior warriors. In the photos hanging on the wall, Qin Li discovered several familiar figures. But at that moment, a voice sounded behind him, pulling his gaze away from the photo. Brother Qin, what brings you here? Could it be that you're also interested in this kind of place? A man walked up to Qin Li. Let's formally introduce ourselves. Gao Lei of the Sky Wolf Gang. Qin Li smiled faintly. This is my first time here too. I didn't expect to meet Mr. Gao. Immediately, internal energy gathered in the man's hand. He directly grasped Qin Li's right hand. He wanted to test him with this. But no matter how hard he tried, Qin Li remained unmoved. Instead, his own hand felt like it was clamped by a tremendous force. Gao Lei's face changed. It hasn't been that long. Qin Li's hidden strength has actually increased so much. He abruptly withdrew his hand. He smiled awkwardly. Brother Qin, your grip is really strong. Qin Li shrugged. He explained the purpose of his visit. In other words, the person you're looking for has the surname Qin. He's a martial artist, but he's been missing for a long time. Qin Li nodded. The information is a bit scarce, but I have to find him. Gao Lei pondered for a moment. He stood up from the sofa. There's someone who might be able to help you. If you trust me, follow me. Qin Li didn't think much of it. He followed him to the elevator. They saw Gao Lei verify his identity. The elevator suddenly started descending. After a few seconds of weightlessness, they finally arrived at the 5th underground level. This was far beyond the scope of a club. It was more like a secret base. The first thing they saw was a several-meter-high metal door. Gao Lei explained, this is the core base of Meilang. It was all built by the former elders. There are a total of 10 floors below. The further down, the greater the power and authority. As he spoke, Gao Lei verified the password and fingerprint. A heavy and powerful mechanical sound echoed. The tightly shut metal door was instantly pulled open. Looking at the various instruments and facilities inside, Qin Li changed his view of the Tianlang organization. He had originally thought it was just an underground criminal force, but now it seemed there was more to it. While pondering, he followed Gao Lei to the man in front of him. He immediately stated his request. I'm looking for a martial artist with the surname Qin. He probably looks somewhat like me. This is all the information I have. A flash of surprise crossed the man's eyes. He happened to be looking for a Qin surname martial artist as well. He wondered if it was a coincidence, but he also used a scanning device to record Qin Li's physical characteristics. He planned to use big data to match them. While the man was operating the computer, Qin Li suddenly noticed a familiar object. Excuse me, could I take a look at your plaque? However, he was directly refused by the man. This is my private property. Don't touch it. But by discerning the insignia on the badge, Qin Li still noticed something amiss. You're also from Military Intelligence Bureau 19. Do you know Liang Qing? Duan Xiaofeng stiffened, stopping all movements. She's the only girl in our Department 19. How could I not know her? But she's passed away. Qin Li said seriously. Liang Qing is not dead, and she's been investigating your whereabouts all along. When she was injured and collapsed at the medical clinic, I saved her and kept her. Duan Xiaofeng finally relaxed. He was also happy that Liang Qing had found a good home. Qin Li continued to ask, "But since you're alive, why don't you go find your surviving teammates?" Duan Xiaofeng hesitated for a moment. He brought up a mission from 2 years ago, a criminal who had fled across multiple countries. At that time, he used intelligence analysis to finally pinpoint him in a house. I never imagined it was a trap. A violent explosion echoed. Fan who caused the entire 19th unit to be sacrificed. I barely escaped with my life back then. Luckily, I met the boss. Now, I just want to find out who the traitor is, and catch him, to commemorate the heroic spirits of my fallen brothers from the 9th Bureau. But because the mission at the time was highly classified, the only lead was the commander of that mission, a 9th-rank martial artist surnamed Qin, the top hacker, reclusive and secluded, only to find the traitor within the team, until the arrival of a young man, finally giving him a lead. However, just as the data was about to be matched, an accident occurred. The device suddenly emitted a harsh alarm. Instead, it displayed parsing failed. The man quickly manipulated the device, trying to restore it to normal operation. He discovered the cause in a moment. This person's identity was extraordinary. All information about him is protected by the military's intelligence system. It's very difficult for outsiders to crack. Hearing what Duan Xiaofeng said, Qin Li became even more curious. What exactly is hidden about this person? It's so mysterious. But at that moment, Gao Lei took out a handheld device. It's difficult to crack, but finding a person, it's not entirely impossible. As he spoke, he pressed a button on it. A huge screen descended from the ceiling. A detailed map unfolded across it. Countless avatars appeared, maintaining even including all the personal information of the individuals. Qin Li was momentarily speechless. He had to reassess the Tianlang gang. It turns out they have such a powerful Qinbao network. Mr. Gao, you're so eager to help me. You must have already set the conditions, right? Seeing that Qin Li took the initiative to bring it up, Gao Lei stopped being coy, and extended an invitation for him to join Tianlang. Although Qin Li did not know his motives, his easygoing attitude towards Duan Xiaofeng didn't seem like the behavior of a ruthless person. He immediately nodded in agreement, saying that if Tianlang needed anything in the future, as long as it did not go against his own principles, he would do his best to offer help. Seeing Qin Li agree so readily, Gao Lei couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Welcome to the Tianlang organization. Qin Li smiled faintly. It's getting late. Mr. Gao, please contact me anytime you have news. As the metal gate closed again, Duan Xiaofeng finally voiced his doubts. Is Mr. Qin really worth your attention? Gao Lei did not answer immediately. He only slowly adjusted the button in his hand. Then he spoke. Tianlang will need a stronger backing in the future. Even the Su family has to treat him with respect, let alone us. Leaving the underground base, Qin Li immediately took out his phone, and shared the news of meeting Duan Xiaofeng with Liang Qing. But suddenly, one of the people fighting behind him, it hit his arm directly. His phone flew out as well. Just as he reached out, a graceful figure leaped onto him. She grabbed the phone first. Seeing Su Shiyu here, Qin Li felt a little surprised. He couldn't think any further. When his wrist was grabbed, I came specifically to find you. It's not convenient to talk here. Mr. Qin, please follow me. Outside, Su Shiyu's expression was cold. Qin Li, please leave Shangjing immediately. My Su family doesn't want to be implicated by you and offend Qin Meiosis. Qin Li shook his head gently. I'm sorry, but I have reasons I can't leave yet. As for the Qin family, I will take responsibility. Su Shiyu didn't say anything else. She just stared at Qin Li intently. After a few seconds of silence, she gave a helpless smile. Since you've already made up your mind, there's nothing more for me to say. While speaking, she kept one hand behind her back, her fingertips holding a slender silver needle. But at that moment, Su Inran's voice came from the doorway. Upon seeing two familiar faces, Qin Li was suddenly startled. At that moment, he could hardly believe his eyes. Two faces that were almost identical, left him unsure of which one was real. Su Inran looked on, equally confused. I didn't realize what was happening. Seeing this, Su Shiyu quickly stopped him. Little brother, don't go over there. She's fake. This person is probably a highly skilled martial artist adept at disguise. The disguised martial artist coldly snorted. The thief cries, stop thief. I'm here to find Qin Li. It's because of what happened at the military banquet last time. Su Shiyu's brows furrowed slightly. Finding out about the military banquet wouldn't be difficult. Besides, a martial artist skilled in disguise could transform themselves in minutes. Qin Wen also has an impression. The Sirius Intelligence Network mentioned martial artists skilled in disguise, but the two people before me are identical. Their demeanor, movements, even their aura, seem like they were cast from the same mold. While he was deep in thought, the two began to prepare for battle. It seemed neither intended to let the other go. Almost instantly, both leaped with all their might. They covered several meters in a single bound. The same vital energy flowed around them. Even their fighting styles were identical. What on earth happened? Two women actually came to blows over this. Their fists were about to collide. Qin Li stepped forward, raising his hands to stop them both. Simultaneously, he held a silver needle in each hand. The tattoos were on the backs of both their hands. The meridians in both their bodies became instantly visible. Qin Li also discovered a clue. If Miss Su hadn't been injured at the military banquet, I would have found it difficult to distinguish the truth from falsehood. Only her injuries were something she couldn't fake. Seeing her identity as Zibao was exposed, a cold smile appeared on her lips. Originally, I only wanted you to leave Shangjing, but I didn't expect you to discover this detail. However, I also left a contingency plan because of this. The moment the words fell, she fiercely thrust out a silver needle. The slightest misstep, and her eyes would be injured. Qin Li didn't dare to be careless. He could only deflect her wrist, and retreated. But it also left an escape route for the imposter. Taking advantage of the gap, she leaped up directly. She hovered above, looking down at Qin Li. With this little strength, you think you can make it in the capital? You're still far from it. Her voice fell. Her figure completely disappeared into the night. Qin Li secretly thought that this person was definitely not simple. To be able to escape in such a short time, their skill was far superior to his own. He then turned his gaze to Su Yinran, inquiring about the purpose of their search for him. Su Yinran explained, "My older brother said he needs to see you urgently. He'll tell you the details when you get there." Qin Li nodded in agreement. He immediately got into the car, but didn't notice, on a nearby tree, a gaze was fixed on him. He could actually use spiritual energy to probe and uncover identities, and he'd even reached the level of a 7th grade warrior. But since you refuse to leave the capital, let me give you another hand. The next morning, Military Medical Research Base, Su Chang saw Qin Li arrive, and pulled him in front of him, then poked his cheek. "Brother Qin, do you notice anything unusual about me?" Qin Li was somewhat puzzled. He then sized him up and down. He discovered a vortex forming within Su Chang's body. Could Commander Su mean, "You're about to break through to level 4 warrior"? Su Chang was startled, then shook his head. "That's not it. Actually, I'm talking about the scar on my face. It's completely healed overnight." "Brother Qin, look. These wound medications were already on the market, but they were all returned by our partners. The reason is that a new drug has recently appeared in the capital, and its effect is particularly good. It has almost monopolized the market. I also bought a bottle last night. I applied it to the wound on my face. It had only been one night. The wound healed miraculously. You're a TCM practitioner, so I want you to help me research the approximate composition of this ointment, so we can improve our product. If you can figure it out, name your price. You can even take any herbs you need here." Qin Li nodded slightly. "These herbs are of excellent quality and age. They are imbued with strong spiritual energy. They're perfect for cultivation." But the moment he saw the ointment, a familiar feeling welled up in his heart. Then, through analyzing the ointment's scent, Qin Li became even more certain that this was the beauty formula he had written. He immediately spoke, "If I'm not mistaken, I formulated this ointment, and it's developed and sold by my wife's company." Su Chang suddenly understood. No wonder it has such an effect. Meanwhile, 2 exclamations rang out nearby. "Qin, you're so young and already married." Qin Li nodded slightly. "I met my wife in college. We got married after graduation. I'm her family's son-in-law." As soon as he said this, Su Chang spat out the tea from his mouth. He couldn't help but feel sorry for Qin Li. With such impressive skills, how could he willingly become a live-in son-in-law? After pondering for a few seconds, Su Chang changed the subject. "Since you made this ointment, I have a small request. Although our Su family is responsible for producing military supplies, some of our medicines are inferior to those folk remedies on the market. Therefore, I would like to ask you to be our consultant. Feel free to state any conditions. Even if your wife ventures into the capital market in the future, our Su family will lend a helping hand. And I promise you 3 conditions that do not violate morals or the law." Qin Li fell into deep thought upon hearing this. The several conditions Su Chang offered coincided perfectly with his current predicament. At the same time, Su Chang also harbored some admiration for a martial artist of unfathomable skill, who also possessed extraordinary medical abilities. All he could do was try his best to win him over. Don't become his enemy. The thousand-faced man, a legend in the martial arts world, was actually a middle-aged man with silver hair. Just a few hours ago, Qin Li left the military medical supply base. Upon entering, he saw an extremely striking scene. But it's also normal to think about it. The marrow cleansing pill, for ordinary people who have just begun cultivation, naturally shows its benefits in all aspects. Then I grasped his wrist, and injected a trace of spiritual energy. I found that the meridians in his body had already widened considerably. It's time to impart some martial arts secrets. Qin Li then took out several yellowed books. He waved them before Jiang Jun's eyes, letting him choose one. Looking at the crooked script, Jiang Jun's long-held fantasy shattered. It looks as if it was just randomly drawn on. Qin Li gave him a reassuring look. "Trust me, with consistent practice, you'll definitely become a master." Just then, there was a knock at the door. When the door opened, Qin Li looked slightly surprised. Qin Li looked calm. He had never seen such a mutation before. It was as if some kind of gene was merging with Qin Mu's. But suddenly, a ringing phone startled him. Qin Li looked at the woman with helpless eyes. He didn't tell anyone about this message. A sense of alertness also arose. Not long after, the vehicle drove onto a narrow road. Apart from low, simple houses, the surroundings were dense forest. Qin Li intensified his suspicions. After all, an airport wouldn't be built in these mountains. He then casually brought up the matter of the Qin surname martial artists. A strange look flashed across Duan Xiaofeng's eyes, but he quickly returned to normal. There are still no leads. The other party's information is too well hidden, but there's another possibility. He's already deceased. As the two talked, a man in the trunk was gradually regaining consciousness. He slowly opened his eyes, hearing the sounds coming from the cockpit. He guessed that someone had disguised themselves as him. He had intended to make some noise, but his whole body felt as if it had been anesthetized. His body couldn't make any movements. Through it all, Qin Li seemed completely unaware. But suddenly, a puff of purple powder sprayed out of the air vent. Qin Li didn't have time to react. It instantly enveloped him. A strong wave of dizziness hit his brain, and in Duan Xiaofeng's hand, it's unclear when a handkerchief appeared. He tightly covered his mouth and nose. Then he took Qin Li to a ruined area. He removed the blindfold from his head. It seemed he was somewhat unaccustomed. He then took a long rope from the car. He walked toward Qin Li. He squatted in front of Qin Li. Muttering softly, he whispered, "Don't blame me. You'll understand later. It's all for your own good." But in the next moment, a hand suddenly swiped at his face. Although he dodged in time, Qin Li still tore away the disguise on his face. "When you came to see me today, I already sensed that. Your aura was somewhat unusual. Even if Duan Xiaofeng came to me himself, he would definitely have disguised himself well." The man's eyes narrowed slightly. "I never expected him to be so careless from the start. But since things have come to this, I can only use the simplest method. That is, subduing him with force." His body shot out like a cannonball. In an instant, he covered several meters. Qin Li didn't even react. He was directly hit in the chest by a fist. His whole body slammed heavily against the wall behind him. The man grabbed Qin Li by the throat. He lifted him up. "Since you won't listen to reason, then don't blame me for being impolite." Naturally, Qin Li wouldn't submit so easily. While struggling, 3 silver needles appeared in the other hand. They were directly stabbed into the acupuncture points on the man's arm. The man winced in pain and took a step back. Qin Li thought he had sealed the opponent's right hand. But just as he caught his breath, a fierce fist appeared on his right side. His body was sent flying. He smashed through a crumbling rock face. Qin Li struggled to his feet from the rubble. The opponent's strength far exceeded his expectations. Even with his right hand pressure point sealed, he was still able to move freely. Seeing Qin Li remain unrepentant, the man seemed to lose his patience. His aura gradually intensified, eventually reaching a terrifying level. Even the surrounding air was pushed back, a suffocating pressure spreading outwards. Qin Li felt so pressured he could barely breathe. A feeling of powerlessness washed over him. He knew his strength was far inferior. He couldn't fight head-on. He could only think of other ways to find a glimmer of hope. To deal with a young boy, the old man unleashed the power he'd suppressed for 10 years. At this moment, he released it completely. Instantly, the ground rumbled. It felt as if the heavens and earth changed color. He felt the overwhelming pressure of this immense power. The young man knew he was no match. He could only seek another slim chance of survival. He immediately scanned the surroundings. Only then did he realize that behind him was a dense graveyard. Suddenly, a flash of insight struck his mind. This place is full of desolate graves, and it's surrounded by hills. It is a place where Yin energy gathers. He immediately leaped forward. His body was like an eel. He quickly darted into it. He sensed the old man's approach. He threw a few more silver needles behind him, but they were easily dodged by the other party. They landed on the tombstone at the edge of the room. Qin Li wasn't surprised by this. Instead, he stopped in his tracks, and shot the silver needles in his hand once more. The old man stood with his hands clasped behind his back, as if taking a leisurely stroll. It didn't harm him in the slightest, but he didn't notice. The silver needles were as if designed to precisely hit the tombstone. The old man mostly thought it was just Qin Li making a deathbed struggle. He gradually approached. He ignored the subtle changes around him. At this moment, Qin Li's eyes flashed coldly. He threw out the final silver needle. In an instant, a formation appeared beneath the old man's feet. The surrounding sinister energy surged wildly in. Qin Li struck out a stream of spiritual energy with his hand. He controlled the operation of the formation. Countless crimson blood-red hands emerged from the ground. They tightly bound the old man's feet. Several ferocious beast phantoms approached, opening their bloody maws. He wants to devour everything within the formation. But even though he's in the heart of the formation, the old man shows no sign of panic. He naturally recognized this formation, gathering 7 evil spirits to create 7 kills. It's the extremely deadly gathering evil 7 kills array. He immediately realized that Qin Li had just used the silver needles to attack, simply to lead him into the core of the formation. I can't help but look at you differently. I didn't expect you to use the terrain and feng shui to make up for the gap in strength between us. Interesting, but you underestimate me. As he spoke, he grabbed a blood shadow and crushed it. His aura surged again. Dispel all the phantoms in the formation. At the same time, both feet stomped hard. In an instant, he leapt forward. The punch hit the lower abdomen. Qin Li's body was sent flying. He even felt the opponent's strength had increased. But before he could land, the old man reappeared, raising both hands to strike his abdomen. Qin Li landed like a shooting star, kicking up a cloud of dust. The old man knew that with the force of that blow, it was enough to damage Qin Li's internal organs. He couldn't gather his energy. Qin Li struggled to get up. His gaze was fixed on his opponent. You could have killed me just now. Why didn't you do that? The old man let out a loud laugh. You brat, you've been beaten to a pulp, and yet you still have such a clear head. I'll let you in on a secret. My intention was to cripple your meridians, and force you to leave Shangjing. Qin Li was somewhat surprised after hearing this. Going to all this trouble, just to drive him out of Shangjing? Could it be someone sent by the Qin family? While he pondered, the old man attacked again, preparing to deliver the final blow to Qin Li. But at that moment, a whistling sound came from behind him. The old man caught the flying blade, easily batting it away with a flick of his wrist. Simultaneously, a figure appeared. She wanted to use this to rescue Qin Li, but suddenly, her pupils constricted sharply. By the time she reacted, she tightly shielded Qin Li in front of her. A tremendous force swept in. He sent both of them flying. The mask fell off, revealing a pretty face. Qin Li only then saw clearly. He quickly held her in his arms. He couldn't understand why Liang Qin was here, but now, he had already fallen into a coma. A surge of inexplicable anger suddenly rose in Qin Li's heart. He ignored the injuries on his body. He forced his way through the obstruction in his meridians. For a moment, there were even signs of a breakthrough. The elder's eyes revealed a hint of approval. The wound in the abdomen is severe, and yet, it can still emit such powerful energy. Truly a genius. At the same time, they both leaped. The momentum of the two seemed to reach its peak. From afar, one could feel the agitation of their spiritual power, as the two fierce fists collided. It felt as though the air itself was compressed. However, Qin Li was already at his limit. This strike had exhausted all his strength. The elder delivered a precise chop to the back of his neck, causing him to lose consciousness completely. A martial arts master beyond the realm of grandmasters actually crippled the young man's meridians with his own hands. Such great effort, just to help the young man surpass his physical limits, only to break and rebuild, to lay a more solid foundation. A pure force was injected into the boy's body. The elder did not linger here. He never revealed his identity from start to finish. In the ruins, Qin Li felt as if he were surrounded by a warm current, repairing his battered body. At the same time, a rustling sound came from the car parked not far away. Duan Xiaofeng also regained some consciousness at this moment, but the silence outside made him feel a sense of unease. The quietness outside made him feel vaguely uneasy. He struggled against the bonds on his wrists. He took out his phone to contact the outside world. The following day, at dusk, Qin Li had already cultivated for 8 hours, but he still showed no intention of stopping. He didn't understand. That person clearly intended to kill him. But in the end, he transferred his power to himself. Countless questions swirled in his mind. But the most important thing now wasn't the other person's identity or his own, but he must refine this restless spiritual energy as soon as possible, or his body might collapse because of it. Thinking of this, Qin Li began to focus his mind. The two completely different spiritual energies in his body quickly merged under the operation of his cultivation method. With a thunderous roar, the roof and windows were shattered to pieces. Just then, Jiang Jun and the others arrived, and they were also greatly startled by the noise. It felt as though the ground was trembling. Upon learning that the sound came from Qin Li's room, several people immediately dropped what they were holding, and ran over. Seeing Qin Li sitting there unharmed, Chu Qingyin finally relaxed. Jiang Jun had wanted to take the opportunity to ask about his doubts regarding the cultivation technique, but the atmosphere in the room gradually became ambiguous. He had no choice but to swallow the problem. When only the two of them remained in the room, Qin Li explained the situation once again. Chu Qingyin was somewhat annoyed after hearing this. She turned her head to the side. Qin Li wanted to step forward to comfort her. A tremor came from his chest. He could no longer suppress it. A spray of blood shot out from his mouth. Chu Qingyin was startled. She quickly reached out to support his arm, but the restlessness didn't subside. It's still surging within me. Qin Li understood. To truly integrate that power, he still needed to find rare treasures to assist him. But to avoid worrying Chu Qingyin, he told her it was due to overtraining. It's a normal phenomenon caused by that. Chu Qingyin's mood relaxed considerably. She then spoke up. You've helped young Master Jiang enter the martial artist threshold. Does that mean I can cultivate as well? As your wife, can I also hope that one day, I can stand by your side and face it together. Qin was moved. Since you've made up your mind, then let's give it a try. After a deep conversation, the night returned to its usual silence. Then Qin walked out of the room. He happened to run into Liang Qing returning from outside. Liang Qing explained, I just went to Duan Xiaofeng's place, to exchange the intelligence I collected, inferring what happened at the 19th Bureau back then. Might not be that simple. Qin nodded. He then instructed Liang Qing to conceal his identity as much as possible. Everyone at the 19th Bureau has already sacrificed themselves. After saying this, he walked out. He wants to find out who is behind the old man, who is the one giving the orders. There is already a preliminary target. Soon after, Qin bypassed numerous hidden sentries, and arrived at a secret room in the Qin family mansion. He is currently flipping through a book. It contains information about everyone in the Qin family, but he found that the highest level was only a level 5 warrior, but the strength of the Heavenly Elder still leaves him with lingering fear. He is definitely not a member of the Qin family, but at that moment, Qin discovered a note tucked into the back of the book. It clearly bore Master Qin's handwriting. After reading it, Qin immediately understood. It turned out that everything was deliberately arranged by this Master Qin, but what puzzled him was the mention of breaking through the warrior's limit. Could there be a higher realm than the 9th level? Footsteps sounded outside the secret chamber. Qin hid in the shadows. Two figures entered at that moment. Suddenly, the middle-aged man stopped. He glanced around. He noticed some books in the secret room. Their positions seemed to have been disturbed. The man had secretly entered the family's secret room late at night, but he unexpectedly discovered a shocking secret. But only 2.5 minutes had passed, when the master of the hidden room noticed something unusual. Hearing footsteps drawing closer, Qin was ready to escape at any moment. But just then, a voice broke the silence. I was here yesterday. I wanted to see if there were any books to help with my cultivation. The middle-aged man stopped. His expression turned stern. Don't come into the inner chamber again. There are many things inside. This is not something you can touch right now. Then pick up the painting. Take it to Chief Wang tomorrow morning. You can also inquire about the martial artist tournament. Qin Miaoxi reached out to take it. A meaningful expression appeared on her face. I heard that Grandpa left some elixirs before. They could help martial artists level up quickly. The middle-aged man did not deny it. The elixirs are only half-finished products, and their side effects are severe. They were destroyed before your grandfather passed away. Qin Miaoxi sneered inwardly. He had already found the elixir. His inquiry was merely to confirm its efficacy. As the door closed again, silence once more descended upon the secret chamber. Qin gaze fixed on a corner. Are you looking for something too? A graceful figure emerged from the shadows. I didn't expect a little lady like me to be hiding so well, to actually be discovered by Commander Qin. However, before she could finish, footsteps sounded again at the door. Qin didn't have time to worry about gender. He quickly silenced her voice. Then, he turned his attention to Qin Miaoxi. He wanted to see why he suddenly turned back. Qin Miaoxi didn't notice the two people in the shadows. He pushed a few books aside with his hands and feet. It seemed like he triggered some kind of mechanism. A sheep-fat jade bottle appeared in the compartment of the bookshelf. A smile appeared on Qin Miao's face. This old fool still thinks he can fool me. Luckily, I had been cautious earlier. Having said that, he pulled out the cloth from the bottle's mouth. As long as it could improve his strength, he didn't care about any side effects. Without hesitation, he poured it into his mouth. The moment he swallowed it, a surge of heat surged through his body. His eyes turned bloodshot. A viscous, bloody aura quickly enveloped him. It felt as if ants were tearing at his whole body. His breathing became heavy. Immediately after, his fingertips sprouted pitch-black nails. My hair was growing at an incredible speed. In a few breaths, it reached waist length. And that wasn't all. All the bones in my body were cracking. The intense pain forced me to the ground. I felt more like a human beast. I practiced your method for a while. Then I felt a particularly intense trembling pain in my body. Qin furrowed his brows. He only gave Chu Qinyin the most basic training. Logically, there shouldn't be any physical discomfort. He simultaneously placed his hand on Chu Qinyin's forehead. It was too late to stop him. Qin Miaoxi raised his scarlet eyes, a crazed look flooding his face. He was like a sentient beast, leaping 10 meters in a single bound. His aura completely erupted. Qin immediately grabbed the woman's wrist. They weaved through the surrounding alleyways, trying to shake off their pursuers. The woman cooperated completely. She was acting on the instructions of an old man, to place the note in the Qin family genealogy. At this moment, the woman tripped over a protruding rock. Qin had no choice but to stop. He didn't want to reveal his identity, but it seems there's no avoiding it today. In the moment when he helped the woman up, a figure landed directly in front of the two. Qin Miaoxi only then saw the other person's face clearly. It was actually Qin, the one who had humiliated him at the military banquet. He hadn't expected to have delivered himself to his enemy. Then he suddenly noticed his companion behind his shield. His heart tightened instantly. Could it be that the two of them were influenced by Advisor Wang's family, and the current situation in the capital? He has to think carefully. Now is not the time to offend Advisor Wang. With that in mind, he took out the acting skills he'd practiced for 2.5 years, pretending to be blind. Upon seeing this, Qin Li didn't understand his concerns. He could only imagine that this was a rich effect of the elixir. The woman had noticed as well. How could Qin Miaosi not see it? It's just because of the power behind her. She felt confident. She walked over step by step. She directly slapped Qin Miao's across the face. Qin Miao's could only swallow his anger. He could only force himself to continue the act. But I don't want to be treated as a punching bag by this woman. He immediately turned and rushed into the alley behind him. At this moment, Qin Li cautiously spoke. I remember you're someone from Advisor Wang's side. How could you? He hadn't finished speaking yet, when the woman interrupted him bluntly. General Qin, you'd better not ask. And I haven't seen you tonight. Qin Li didn't press further. He didn't want to reveal the purpose of his visit. Suddenly, the woman's phone rang again. She looked at the incoming call on her phone. A smile appeared on her face. Please trouble Commander Qin to come with me. Adjutant Wang requests your presence. Not far away, Qin Miaosi stood on the rooftop, glaring furiously at the two. The strongest martial artist team in Huaxia Shangjing was actually going to have a young boy as its captain. It had just happened. Qin Li was invited to the military compound, but to his surprise, Qin Miao's, who had just gone berserk after taking drugs, was now standing there calmly. And when Qin Miao's saw the two of them arrive, he felt a little uneasy inside. Zhou Xian, however, showed an amused expression. She teased him about the injuries on his face. Wang Kanmu chuckled lightly at this. He stopped the joking in the office. Then, with a serious expression, he said, you are among the most powerful people in Shangjing. So the leader has decided to select you to represent Shangjing, to participate in the martial arts tournament. This will be the largest scale martial arts tournament ever held. It will take place next month in Tianhai City. I believe that with Captain Qin's strength, he will definitely win the championship this year as team captain. Qin Li heard this, secretly thinking, there must be some condition. He figured that Bao wouldn't refuse. As expected, Officer Wang then revealed to the others that the grand prize for this competition was the rare and invaluable sacred fire lotus. Qin Li nearly gasped in surprise upon hearing this, as it was the precious treasure he had been desperately searching for. It can help him refine the spiritual energy within his body. Commander Wang gave Qin Li a deep look. I heard that Commander Qin is also a doctor. You must be interested in this secret medicine as well. Qin Li smiled faintly. To be honest with you, this sacred fire lotus is indeed useful to me. I will definitely give my all in the martial arts tournament. As soon as the words left my mouth, Zhou Xian leaned in. I'm currently the weakest in the team. I only have the strength of level 3. Why don't you give me some pre-match guidance? Chief Wang saw through her thoughts. He immediately echoed, Commander Qin, I entrust my daughter to you. Zhou Xian's cheeks instantly flushed red. She already greatly admired the strong, much less with Qin Li's possession of the marrow cleansing pill, something countless martial artists coveted. The next morning, Zhou Xian, in fresh attire, came to the attic where Qin Li was. The moment the door opened, her outstretched hand froze midair. Her whole body stiffened for several seconds. Zhou Xian walked straight in. Her gaze swept around the room. Commander Qin, doesn't he live here? Hearing the woman's address, Liang Qin's expression froze. When did the boss become someone from the military? Not seeing Qin Li, Zhou Xian also began to scrutinize Liang Qin. She felt that this face looked somewhat familiar. But at this moment, a soft gasp came from the room upstairs. A glimmer of light flashed in Zhou Xian's eyes. Her face couldn't hide her excitement. He truly is the man I have my eye on. He is exceptional in every way. Qin Li was helping Chu Qingyin loosen her muscles and joints. After a moment of kneading and rubbing, Chu Qingyin showed an expression of exhaustion. It was clear she had been tortured quite badly. Meanwhile, Qin Li had just walked downstairs. Zhou Xian rushed over quickly, but seeing the movement of her hands, Qin Li's expression changed instantly. He knew she had misunderstood something. He was about to explain. When Chu Qingyin walked out, he's holding a document. You forgot your things. Then he took the document, and threw it forcefully into Qin Li's hands. How could Qin Li not understand? She's upset again. He immediately pulled her in front of him. Let me introduce you. This is my wife, Chu Qingyin. That's Liang Qin. She's currently managing the medical clinic for me. Then he turned and introduced. She is Zhou Xian, just like me. She's a contestant representing Shangjing in the martial arts competition. Zhou Xian pouted. The captain has such a beautiful wife. Why did you keep it a secret from me before? Qin Li said. Qin Yin had been busy with company matters before. That's why she didn't appear. But the two ignored Qin Li's words, only staring at each other, as if lightning was shooting from their eyes. Qin Li had no choice but to mediate in the middle. I've created a training plan for both of you. How about you take a look and get familiar with it first? The two of them took the paper from Qin Li's hands. Both of them gasped in surprise at the same time. The training load was overwhelming. It far exceeded their expectations. Qin Li had anticipated this scene. He said confidently, "As long as we strictly follow my plan, there will be basically no problems. During the following training period, no matter who it is, I will show no mercy. Don't let this girl's delicate appearance fool you. She has a celestial Emperor Dharma image sealed within her." Just now, on the training ground, several figures were sweating profusely. They were all training using Qin Li's method. A dull thud echoed on the ground. Zhou Xian seemed to have exhausted all her strength. She collapsed directly onto the ground. Chu Qingyin came over at that moment. Chu Qingyin's figure still stood there. Qin Li suppressed the tremor in his heart. He slowly moved his hand closer to the outer halo. Countless obscure runes were engraved on it. Qin Li, however, felt a sense of déjà vu, but the next second, his spiritual sense probed into his body with his spiritual power. But when he opened his eyes again, he found himself in an utterly unfamiliar scene. He felt as if he were in the center of a deep pool. Darkness enveloped him on all sides. Qin Li raised his hand. "Gather your inner spiritual energy in your palm. Transform it into a ball of faint firelight." Just then, a wisp of green energy drifted from behind, as if attracted by Qin Li's spiritual power. Entangling with it, Qin Li, filled with curiosity, followed the direction indicated by the aura. Qin Li's pupils constricted. He looked at everything before him in disbelief. A gigantic phantom hovered in midair, even in front of the phantom. But her heart was extremely excited. Tears almost welled up in her eyes. A voice sounded behind her. "You seem a little too happy." The dust settled. Xia Wen was seen standing there unharmed. A powerful suction force appeared on the runes, trying to pull him in. Qin Li immediately reacted. He quickly retreated. In reality, Qin Li suddenly opened his eyes. "I'm afraid that if I'm even a step slower, his consciousness will be swallowed. At the same time, my heart is filled with worry, although I don't know what it is." But Qin Li guesses. It should be the reason for Qingyin's discomfort, and it only manifested today. It was most likely triggered by his cultivation. But based on the contact just now, with his current strength, he's not strong enough to fight that thing. He needs even stronger cultivation. While Qin Li was comforting Chu Qingyin, Jiang Jun stopped in front of him. "I say, Qin Laudi, I've practiced the secret manual you gave me, but I don't feel anything." Qin Li then glanced at him. "I found his spiritual energy is abundant. He must have been cultivating too frequently. He didn't notice the subtle changes in his body." Then I pointed ahead. "Gather your spiritual energy in your legs. Try running a lap." Jiang Jun hesitantly crouched down. He awkwardly gathered the spiritual energy inside his body. At the moment he exerted force, his body shot forward. In the blink of an eye, he had run more than 10 meters. It hadn't even been 10 seconds. "I just ran a few hundred meters and returned to the starting point." Jiang Jun excitedly looked at Qin Li. "Qin, you're amazing. Give me a few more marrow washing pills, wouldn't that?" But he didn't finish. Qin Li cut him off directly. "The effect of the marrow washing pill is to transform the body. It has no effect on you now." But Zhou Xian, who happened to arrive, overheard. "Captain, you have such a high-level pill like the cleansing Dao pill. Could you give me one?" Qin Li directly took out 3 brown pills. "There are still one for each of you," Jiang Jun said meaningfully. "Will they be like me after taking them? Hot, taking off their clothes and sleeping naked?" Qin Li glanced at him. "Yin is dominant, Yang is weak. Women who take the blood cleansing pill generally won't experience what happened to you last time." Qin Li sat cross-legged. His fingers traced obscure runes in the air. As the last piece fell into place, instantly, external spiritual energy surged into the room wildly. With a clear, buzzing sound, a smile appeared on Qin Li's face. He, based on the principle of the gathering array, he successfully transformed it into a spirit-gathering formation. Anyone cultivating within the formation can achieve twice the result with half the effort. But at this moment, there came an urgent knocking at the door. "Open the door." It was Zhou Xian, dressed in a sexy sheer gown. At this moment, her cheeks were flushed. The strap slid down her fragrant shoulders. She looked as if she were drunk. She appeared incredibly seductive, just as she was about to throw herself over. But Qin Li dodged her with a quick move, causing her to fall to the ground again. But there was no imagined pain. It even accentuated her graceful figure. A cold look appeared on Qin Li's face. "Miss Zhou, have some self-respect." The girl sneaked into the man's bedroom late at night, just to quench the heat within her. But little did she expect that all the effort she put into dressing up didn't earn her a single bit of affection. Instead, it made Qin Li feel a trace of disgust. "Miss Zhou, please show some self-respect. I am a married man." Zhou Xian, however, was not bothered at all. "So what? It's not like you can't get a divorce after getting married." Saying this, tears welled up in the corners of her eyes again. "Captain, you were a son-in-law back then. You were bullied a lot by her family." Qin Li interrupted her without hesitation. "Qingyin and I have a very good relationship. As for what happened before, you just don't know the full story. Zhou Xian leaped again. Captain, you're so excellent. You definitely don't need just one woman by your side. Even if I have to play the small role, it's fine. But what responded to her was the sound of a door closing. Back in the room, the coldness in Qin Li's eyes disappeared. What replaced it was a touch of tenderness. But she didn't see it. Chu Qingyin also smiled. Zhou Xian leaned against the door. Qin Li's attitude just now not only didn't make her give up, but instead strengthened her resolve to cultivate a dual cultivation with Qin Li. A month passed in a flash. The eve of the martial artists competition arrived. After bidding farewell to Chu Qingyin and the others, Qin Li boarded the plane to Tianhai City. He didn't notice that a familiar figure had slipped into the cabin. Liang Qin lowered the newspaper she was holding. She made up her mind that from now on, no matter what, she would follow Qin Li. At the same time, Zhou Xian did not immediately sit down, but instead stood beside Qin Li's seat. Just then, Qin Muse brushed past her. Zhou Xian's body seemed to be struck by a great force. She uncontrollably fell backward. She ended up sitting directly on someone's thighs. A triumphant smile appeared on her face. Sorry, Captain, did I hurt you? However, Su Chang awkwardly coughed. Miss Zhou, did you mistake me for someone else? Zhou Xian suddenly stood up. Only then did she realize that it was Su Chang sitting in the seat. Qin Li paid no attention to this farce. Instead, he fell into deep thought. He recalled the note from the Qin family's secret room. I wonder how far I am from becoming a 9th-level warrior with my current strength. At the same time, he felt a little worried. He also worried about this martial arts competition. Will I encounter opponents above level 9? After more than an hour of bumpy flight, the plane arrived over Tianhai City. Qin Li and the others immediately rushed to the venue to make preparations before the competition. However, on their way there, he found that almost everyone around him was a martial artist. There were even a few quite powerful auras. But at that moment, a figure fell directly in front of Qin Li. Several girls quickly ran over and helped the figure up. Wu saw several men approaching. So what if we bully you? This martial arts tournament is hosted by the military. My brother is a commander there. Now I'll give you a choice. Either you serve me tonight. Either leave Tianhai City right now, or the woman can't hold back anymore. She leaps forward without hesitation. One leg kicks fiercely toward the front, but the man's speed is even faster. In an instant, he dodges the woman's flying kick. He even grabbed her thigh. The woman immediately steadied herself. She threw another punch, but it was still easily dodged by the man. Not even a single strand of hair was harmed. Taking advantage of the gap, he struck her face with a direct punch. The impact sent her stumbling back several meters. Only then did she manage to stabilize herself. Although they had exchanged blows several times in a short period, Qin Li had already seen through her moves in advance. Everything stemmed from the mysterious person's transmission of skills. Seeing that the woman was about to be hit again by a fist, Qin Li's calm voice rang out. Left hand forms a shield. Energy gathers in the right foot. Although the woman looked displeased, her body still reacted honestly. I moved as instructed. Qin Li's voice sounded again. Right foot, straight to Fengqi. The woman did as she was told. She actually kicked him directly in the head. The man was instantly dazed and disoriented by the kick. The man fell straight to the ground. With just a few short words, he was able to see through the martial artist's moves, and help the girl turn defeat into victory. Tang Yi's beautiful eyes widened, unable to believe she had won like this. Qin Li didn't stay here for long. He turned around and headed directly to the competition venue. At this moment, Tang Yi regained her composure. She quickly caught up. Kindly wait, my benefactor. Are you here to watch the competition as well? Zhou Xian responded indifferently. We're here to compete, just like you. We're also here to participate in the competition. A look of confusion appeared on Tang Yi's face. How can three of you possibly compete? Only then did Qin Li and the others notice that Qin Muse had disappeared. In a nearby alley, Qin Muse looked at the porcelain bottle in front of him, a glint of greed in his eyes. There was only one pill inside, unless absolutely necessary. Don't use it lightly. Qin Mayusi sneered inwardly. The sacred fire lotus was something he absolutely must obtain. As long as it could improve his cultivation, he wouldn't even fear poison. After Qin Myosher left, Chief of Staff Wang emerged from the darkness. His expectant gaze rested on the few people. Meanwhile, outside the venue, Zhou Xian's teasing voice sounded. We've been on the plane for hours. I didn't expect Qin Myosi's kidney function to be so poor. Compared to our captain, it's really far behind. Tang Yi's expression froze. This young man before him was actually the captain. His gaze fixed firmly on Qin Li's face. My heart stirred with admiration. Even when Qin Li greeted her, she didn't react. The air seemed to hang heavy for a few seconds. Then she finally snapped out of it. Hello, Captain Qin. I'm the captain of the coastal squad. Tang Yi. Just then, Chief of Staff Wang approached alone. So you're here. Take this. Xian will help you settle everything later. Zhou Xian's face showed a blush. Gan Shen. Just let go. I will definitely take good care of the captain. Xia Wen, not far away, was helped up by several people. He looked at Qin Li with anger and curiosity. He only noticed the woman next to him. Looking at that familiar large self-service note, needs context. It's likely a specific place name, perhaps a department store or similar. Only then did he recognize Zhou Xian, whom he hadn't seen in a long time. Night fell. Hanwu Hotel. The lights were dim and hazy. Zhou Xian was arranged to stay in the same hotel as Qin Li. She was naturally overjoyed, just as she was daydreaming. A doorbell rang, breaking her train of thought. She immediately muttered a complaint. Meanwhile, outside the door, Xia Wen asked Hu Delu to give him a trendy hairstyle. A confident expression appeared on his face. He was certain that this would win over Fang Qian's heart. But the moment the door opened, he was instantly petrified. Even his flirtatious words came to a sudden halt. Xia Wen almost roared. You brat, did I tell you to open the door? I'm looking for Miss Zhou. Qin Li didn't say anything more, and slammed the door shut. Xia Wen clutched his face in pain. His heart filled with boundless rage. But when he heard a woman's voice from inside, he suppressed his anger. He simply broke down the door, his face a picture of lechery. It's me, your brother Xia Wen. I specifically came here to apologize to you. Zhou Xian, drenched from head to toe, looked like a lotus rising from the water. She glanced at him, a bit confused. Xia Wen's attitude was extremely sincere, but his eyes didn't leave her chest. I was apologizing for not taking care of you earlier. As soon as Zhou Xian noticed his gaze, she adjusted her towel. Seeing this, Xia Wen felt a darker glint in his eyes. He directly climbed onto her fragrant shoulder. There are outsiders here, so let me stay close and take care of you, my dear. The other hand also reached over, out of line. I didn't expect that after just 1 year. Zhou, you've changed so much. Zhou Xian's face darkened. I never expected that after all this time. Brother Xia is still the same, unable to change his ways. As soon as she finished speaking, her thigh suddenly jerked up, and directly kicked Xia Wen's groin. Zhou Xian threw away the rose in her hand. She chuckled. Someone like you doesn't even deserve to bother me. Then she looked at Qin Li with a lovesick expression again. Unless you can become a man like our captain. Xia Wenxiang, gritting his teeth through the pain, said, he's just a country bumpkin. Does he even compare to me, Xia Wenxiang? Zhou Xian's face showed a playful expression. Whether he does or not isn't for you to decide. In the eyes of our captain, a 5th-level martial artist, you, Xia Wen, are not even worth mentioning. Xia Wen forced a smile onto his face. 5th level, huh? Then I really appreciate you letting me know. Let's just wait and see. Then, he got up and followed. With great difficulty, he walked out of the hotel. This is the annual martial artist tournament. Countless talented contestants gather together. The winner will not only gain supreme honor, but also receive the treasures of the cultivation world. Sacred Fire Lotus. The host's enthusiastic commentary on stage completely elevates the atmosphere to its peak, and most people present have heard of the miraculous Sacred Fire Lotus. It can not only cure all poisons, and it's a necessary item for martial artists to break through their cultivation limits. The host, Gao Yang's voice, sounded again. First to appear is the host team, the captain of the Tianhai City team, Xia Wen, and his 3 teammates. Next is the team from Jin City, Captain Xiao Shen and his team members, as well as the only female captain in this competition. Finally, the captain of the Shangjing team. The competition follows a one-on-one defense format. The opponents are decided by drawing lots. The team drawing the short lot will be the first to challenge. Then, other team members will take turns challenging. The competition doesn't restrict the use of any props. The champion who defeats everyone will be the winner of this year's martial arts tournament. As the staff put down the box of slips, the 4 team captains immediately stepped forward. Tang Yi looked at the short slip she drew, and her heart sank. The other 3 held long slips in their hands, each with their own thoughts. Tang Yishan took a deep breath, and adjusted her state to its best. Then, she fearlessly leaped onto the ring. She knew exactly what she was about to face. Sure enough, Xia Wen followed closely behind. After yesterday's defeat, a thorn has remained in his heart. Today, I want to see who can still help you. As he spoke, the fighting spirit within him erupted. His aura suddenly intensified. Tang Yi's expression grew increasingly grave. He dared not be careless. Xia Wen was seen lying prostrate on the ground. His aura condensed into a huge, jade-green scorpion. It looked incredibly terrifying. Just then, Xia Wen shot out like an arrow from a bow, bursting forth, instantly rushing before Tang Yi, smashing the floor beneath her feet to pieces. But before she could react again, Xia Wen's attack was like a scorpion's tail, a sudden kick backward, sending the unsuspecting Tang Yi flying. Immediately after, Xia Wen leaped again, reaching the same height as Tang Yi. A powerful punch was thrown. Her body was smashed heavily to the ground. The moment she landed, a large crater was brutally smashed into the ring. Below in the spectator stands, Su Chang was somewhat shocked by this scene. I didn't expect that just 1 year apart. Xia Wen has become so powerful, and look at that faintly visible scorpion. It seems to have reached the stage of spiritual energy taking form. Qin Li turned his head and asked, spiritual energy taking form? Any martial artist should be able to do this, right? A serious expression appeared on Su Chang's face. No, only martial artists of level 6 and above can achieve this level. We want to win the championship. I'm afraid it won't be easy. Qin Li nodded slightly. His gaze returned to the ring. Tang Yi's body had been knocked away countless times. Xia Wen didn't want to waste any more time. Give up, Tang Yi. Continuing like this, you have no chance of winning. Although Tang Yi is covered in wounds, her determined eyes show no fear. Just like her name, remembering the past, a man's image was etched in her heart. Since birth, her father had never shown her even a shred of affection. The words that constantly echoed in her ears were her father's constant scolding. Her only possession was her Winnie the Pooh. It was also taken away and given to her brother. Finally unable to bear it, she, one late night, resolutely left home, searching for her own value in the world. She had to prove it to that person. Tang Yi also needs a father's love. She needs to receive the love and affection that belongs to her, instead of being the money-losing burden he calls her. Thinking of this, her expression became even more resolute. She jumped without hesitation. She exerted all her strength to fight for that slim chance of victory. Her body fell before Xia Wen. In an instant, countless afterimages appeared. This was her trump card. Controlling all directions, Xia Wen couldn't react in time. Tang Yi found a weakness. He punched him directly in the back of the neck. Xia Wen's body flew like a cannonball. He crashed to the ground. Countless rocks scattered around. Su Chang's face grew even more shocked. But unexpectedly, Tang Yijing made a final counterattack. The audience in the stands were also amazed. A mere 6th level warrior. How could he use a battle technique, only possessed by 7th level warriors? At this moment, above the shattered broadcast platform, Tang Yi seemed to exhaust all her strength. As she staggered and ran out of the smoke and dust, in her moment of weakness and helplessness, her face still radiated determination. From the moment she stepped into the arena, even if it meant damaging her very foundation in the end, I also want to win the martial arts tournament championship. It's not for the vanity in my heart. It's just that in her heart, the man is deeply engraved in her heart. She wants to prove herself through this ring, to win the glory that belongs to her. Despite falling countless times, and her body covered in wounds, she still managed to defeat her opponent with her own strength and knock them to the ground. Because she barely managed to use the battle technique by breaking her limits, even standing up now feels like a great luxury. A playful expression crossed his face. Then, he condensed the giant scorpion phantom again. It was even more substantial than before. He leaped into the air. He smashed into the ground from a height of over 10 meters. A wave of despair washed over Tang Yi. She wanted to continue fighting, but her body felt as heavy as 1,000 pounds. She couldn't muster any strength. Seeing the unfavorable situation, her teammates quickly rushed onto the ring. Xia Wen noticed 3 figures approaching. He sneered inwardly. He abruptly twisted his body in midair. His 2 fists descended suddenly. Before the 3 could react, they were almost simultaneously sent flying. He looked at the figures lying on the ground. Xia Wen's smile grew wider. Young people shouldn't be so unprincipled. And you dare to use a sneak attack.